Yeah, Namaste. A warm welcome to everybody for this late night podcast. So it's an emergency situation, as you can see from the media reports, that the government in Nepal has collapsed due to various protests done by students, so-called student organizations. So we are going to talk about this. We will also have Bijeet, Dr. Bijeet Prasantha joining us very shortly in about a few minutes. So till he comes, we have our special guest today, Mr. AcademicMan. So he, as a profession, is works on social sciences. So he understands bit of the social behavior, not
Yeah.
individual but social behavior. So, AcademicMan, going directly to you, can you just give us your take that we have seen the protest in Bangladesh, 5th August, monsoon revolution. Now we have seen the same kind of thing happening, almost repeated as a duplicate part in Nepal, and we have also seen similar things happen in the Orange Revolution in Ukraine. So, how do you analyze this from a sociological perspective?
Thanks for this, introduction today and invitation. I think that uh, when these events were happening, I was remembering the little that I read on the Naxal movement of the 1960s and 70s. Now, interestingly, uh, we can ask why this is all happening in smaller countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, even, and many other places. But India is thankfully able to avoid such regime changes, sudden regime changes. Now, one aspect is certainly that the demography is still not in a position to do this. For example, if you consider 1960s and 70s West Bengal and 2025 West Bengal, the young people who were educated and who had a voice in that time, who were the educated elites among the young people, their numbers, their absolute numbers and population has gone down in the state of West Bengal. Okay. So there are not a lot of people who can stir up the revolutionary spirit as elites. So as I keep saying that the elites are the ones who lead any society, right? Any social action. Even in the Nepal case, you will see that there are people who have been, uh, you know, uh, oh, okay. There have
Hmm.
been cases where this NGO, some elite NGO workers and all have influenced these young people. Now, NGO matlab, most people already know that there is a hand of somebody else, NGO, non-government organization by definition. But still,
USAID.
yes, exactly. So all these lettered agencies, they are behind some aspects of this. Uh, what is happening is that if you think about it, these elites are created by some foreign elements or some anti-social, anti-India or anti-democratic elements, and they are thrust in the among the people. Like they are told to kind of lead the people, right? And they lead the people because they are elites in some way. They are given resources, they are given an image, they are in the age of social media, it's much easier. Back in the Naxal period, you have to be if you see the mostly upper castes of Calcutta BBKs, we keep talking about that, the BBKs who were in elite institutions like Presidency Jadavpur and the Calcutta University and these places. So these people were leading the protests, right? The Naxal movement. And then we know what happened. In the case of what's happening in Nepal, we see a similar upsurge of some leaders, especially after the Nepal earthquake and a few other things that happened. Many conversion rackets have happened in the country, and I'm not saying that that is the direct reason, but it seems that these are all connected. That these were all happening. Now, what what if I can discuss the sociological aspects of this in 5 minutes or so. What I will get at is the role of elites. Now, in India, interestingly, since we are almost developed economy, right? At this point, almost, perhaps not completely developed, but we are among the faster developing economies, and we have a relatively robust democracy, like where young youth leaders can come up in the society democratically through elections, right? Therefore, this kind of social anxiety that builds up in most of the other places like Bangladesh, Nepal, Pakistan, these kind of places, right? That is missing in India, thankfully. Because after all, thanks to TN Session and many other people, and a relatively robust democracy with a relatively educated population of Hindus who are much more spiritually aware and more let's say connected to their roots in large part, we have majority of the country not wanting violent revolution. Okay, I'm not saying non-violence, Gandhian non-violence is the way. I'm not saying that either. I am saying that they have faith in the institutions of the country because they are, they are in a position of spirituality, and the country is also in a better position, democratically and economically, and that's why the Naxal movement was so relevant. But this is the problem that the people who did the Naxal revolution, they were basically funded by foreign agents, right? But right now, what is happening is people who are susceptible to foreign funding, we keep talking about this, the toolkit gang, all these people, they are also not able to rally as many people as they can. Also because, like I said, that we have a relatively better record of democracy and economics than our neighbors: Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan. Having said that, again, now the key is also to hit more economic growth, to have more stable democratic institutions without foreign interference, to have better judicial systems where justice is not delayed, it is provided, like in the many cases like SSC and all, more scams are exposed, that people can have faith in a democracy, have faith in our institutions. This is where the institutions also have to wake up more. They have to stop thinking that they are all powerful, right? And in that sense, while there is some leeway, while the people have some faith in the judiciary, some faith in the government, this should not be tested for too long, like in the case of West Bengal, right? In the case of West Bengal, many big YouTubers are saying, why is this not happening in West Bengal? We don't want this to happen in West Bengal or any other part of India. Okay. No matter whom they support, BJP, CPM, whatever, I don't care. The thing is that we don't want violent revolution. We want democracy to function, which means that the citizens of this country must have the highest rights that the constitution guarantees to them under judiciary law, and executive and legislature, which means that representing the interests of the silent majority, not the violent minority, right? And that is where we must also raise our voice to make our country more democratically accountable to, like I said, the silent majority, so that everyone, opposition and ruling party and judiciary and police and whoever is in power, in a position of power and authority, does take the concerns of the citizens seriously.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. I think like why we asked you to come here on this late night, and we really appreciate you sacrificing your little bit of time for us this late night. One question, and then I'll let you go. That is, when you are talking, I have this book, Social Warming. the
Yeah.
polarizing impact of social media. So, as you like as a profession, you deal with, you work with social sciences. So, what do you think in India? Although social media is very popular, it is consumed by a large number of people, not as much as in other countries, but they do represent a quite a chunk of a large chunk of opinion in terms of elections and other policies. So in India, it is not happening. It is not happening what had happened, what has happened in Nepal, what has happened in Bangladesh. So what do you think? What are the social reasons behind this? And is from 2014 onwards, Narendra Modi came and gave a lot of freebies like free ration and houses and other things to the lower rung of the society. Do you think that is a very important part where the lower rung people who don't earn enough or not rich enough, they can actually sustain their lives via government help, and that keeps the stability which is missing in Bangladesh and Nepal?
Uh, yes, this is a relevant point that when I said they have faith in democracy and the government, it is because the present government has provided more transparency in the delivery of goods, public goods. So that is one huge factor. If they did not do this, then allegations of corruption would have, wiped all over the country. Okay, like if you remember the Anna Hazare movement, why is there no similar movement right now? Because the government is for a change giving you the benefit, right? Instead of putting it in the pocket. Yeah, of course, some ethanol and all that stuff happens from time to time. But overall, the ration, the toilet, the house, the welfare schemes, they are directly going from the national treasury to my pocket. So people don't, uh, people are not so angry at the government on these counts. Now, having said that, what social media does do is it does foster anger and all that. But here's the funny thing about the social media. There is social media, the internet, if you think about it, unless it is trifled with, like the Americans keep trying to do, it is a rhizomatic structure. When I mean, what does rhizomatic structure mean? It means that it's a grass, like it's not a tree. It's a grass-like structure. There are many things happening all over the internet, right? People watch Bollywood movies, people watch Hollywood movies, people watch song, dance, people watch, you know, basically political satire, political commentary, different language, all that stuff. There are all kinds of things available on the social media, which is why the internet freedom is also very important. What do I mean by that? Is that if social media's rhizomatic structure is what keeps society talking to each other and keeping it intact. A professor once told me that social media is basically society on the internet, right? At this point, like, but it is a more connected version of that, and more let's say interest group related version of that. So earlier, if you went to a club, maybe you would see 10 kinds of people. But now in our WhatsApp groups are basically echo chambers, right? But even having said that, even then, uh, the the good thing about social media or this kind of thing is that sometimes you will get opposing views. Sometimes, whereas if the US and these kind of countries control the kind of content you are watching, that is the real danger I see in social media destroying democracy, because basically that means that again the foreign interest is being using up the energies of the people and rallying them, right, against the country. So that is where the rhizomatic structure, the grass like structure of social media must be preserved. For this, if the government of India can deal with social media companies directly or produce its own social media like Modi ji has been saying recently, then that may work. But again, the problem with the internet is it serves the beginners. Like early movers advantage is more like Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. To replace them like coup and this and that, you have to work very hard. Like in the US, Rumble is there, but Rumble is not even like 10%, 5% as popular as YouTube, right? So that is where I think the government must create the change in some way. Let's see. My regards to Dr. Prosanto, and I'll take your leave.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Thank
Please, please. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate it.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. We really thank Academic Man for coming with us for this very special podcast. So now we have Dr. Bijeet Prasantha. You are mute.
अच्छा नमस्ते
Yeah, yeah.
नमस्ते
Namaste, namaste, namaste. So I think you have already seen, and also our audience also has seen what has happened in Nepal. Okay.
right
So, so what are your first reactions? Just to start with that.
right so I think for this kind of protest it really take a few days to understand who was or who were behind this plot, right? I mean, obviously this seems to be designed by some devil. Now we don't know who is this devil. Probably it will take a couple of days or a couple of weeks to really like gauge the situation and understand who is behind this. Why I'm saying this? Because I mean everyone pretty much knows what happened, right? So apparently there was some huge corruption that went on, and Nepali people were being very vocal about it. I think a couple of months ago there was a Nepali student who really gave a like really hit. I mean, I would not say the content was like Nazi content, but it is really like a very like that student really gave a very fiery speech, right? So from then, I think 6 months down here we are right now, where there was a ban on the social media by the Nepali government, by the KP Oli, the Prime Minister of Nepal. I think, yeah. So then, and then there was huge corruption also uh, by the Nepali government and the personnel, due to which there was a huge anguish and anger overall in Nepal. Then there was this huge curb on the social media. They tried to control and ban social media platforms. And then after that, I think Gen Z started to protest. It was, I mean, okay, on the surface, it is a students' protest. And I think, yeah, so 20 or 22 students died. um, I mean, police is not claiming. Police is claiming that they did not fire a bullet, but somehow 22 students got shot. And then there was a curfew in, I think, in Kathmandu and around Kathmandu, in places like Bhaktapur, and a few places, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur. So there was a curfew. But then, right from 8 o'clock, 8:30, people started to violate curfew, and then they started to come out. Um, so the Kathmandu district administration also sort of announced to stay at home, but it was grossly violated by the mob. And although there was a curfew scene, I mean, from 9 o'clock till midnight, people came to the street. They pretty much started to burn the houses of a lot of ministers. Then they set on fire the Nepali parliament. They started to, I mean, they had a plan to attack the Pashupatinath temple as well, but the army actually saved it, saved the temple from this sort of um, atrocious sort of attempt. And then in between the chaos, there was a guy, I think, who is called the Bolendra Shah, right? Bolen Shah, who
Yes,
is really
yes.
coming out. So, who is the mayor of Kathmandu? And he's coming out to be the sort of a popular face.
Interim. He slated to be. Okay. Actually, I wanted to talk about this protest. Is easily very
Right, so
similar. Yeah.
I'm going there.
Hmm.
Right. So here is the main catch point, which is that this Bolen Shah, who is coming out to be the most popular face of this mutiny, so to say, um, or or the unrest. This guy actually studied structural engineering from, I think, from Karnataka, I guess, from India. I think he did his masters from here. He was a rapper, and but so that was his connection with India. But then I think this guy was became a very popular face when he, I think Time magazine covered him, and this was, yeah. So in 2023, he got a place in Time magazine, and he became the he got the place among the 100 most popular personalities across the world. And then the New York Times also covered this guy. Um, so as a very sort of a guy with a very clean image, who is working at part as part of some NGOs to sort of develop Nepal and all these things. Now we have to here understand whether maybe this sort of design was staged by CIA, because this is something, yeah. So you know how CIA works, right? So they sort of penetrate into the um, very ground realities of a nation, and then they popularize a few faces through these Magsaysay award, or giving place in Time magazine, etc. um, and yeah, they start to sort of um, obviously control the mind of the school going or college going people through some, obviously some propaganda. So yeah, we really don't know what was behind it. I mean, who actually uh, who actually funded these kind of protests. The other thing that I wanted to say was that, so there was a, you might be knowing this, that there was a rampant missionary conversion that is going on in Nepal in the last 10 years. So I think in 1951, there was no Christian in Nepal, and then suddenly within 20 years there were like 30 to 50 Christians. In 2011 there were almost, I think, 3 lakh Christians, and now there are, I think, more than 5 lakh Christians living in Nepal. So due to this rampant sort of missionary conversion, um, and also, there are some jihadi agenda that are taking place inside Nepal as well. And this thing really sort of got the real pace after, I mean, while the UPA government was in India, when Nepal became quote unquote secular nation, right? So they adopted secularism that actually led to this sort of debacle, that led to corrupt government, that led to rampant conversion, that led to this much sort of anguish in part of the common populace who did not get their share of, wealth, their share of sort of all the distribution, right, from the part of the government. So all these factors that have gone into this thing, but really who was behind this design is yet to be discovered, I guess.
Yes. So, like I'm showing the bit of like threads and other things which are available on social media. Okay. But my
Okay.
question to you is, like we are trying to actually see. I think what has happened already happened. Like one question. Do you think this kind of protest and the way the government fell like a domino, this could have taken place without social media being there?
Whether this, I think so, yes. This is because, I mean, you see, it is not like these kind of protests or these kind of this kind of, how to say, yeah, really it is mutiny, right, where the students are being utilized as weapons, as like army,
mm,
right?
mm.
uh, and it has happened historically across
No.
various nations when the social media was not even there. In my
Mm,
opinion, social media has uh, historically worked, I mean, in the brief span of last
mm,
2 decades,
mm,
as
mm,
some sort of a, yeah, echo chamber, or a chamber where the common people could vent out their anger. I
mm,
mean, you see the, for example, the Indian social media, how active really that, and from the both, I mean, left or right, from both side, uh, you can see us like a huge spectrum of views. Some of them are really extremist, some of them are moderate. But the point is, the amount of discussions, the volume of content that are being generated in social media, at least in the political space, is actually huge for a country like India. That has somehow acted toward sort of neutralizing the anger and anguish of this of the
like a
Indian by the,
release valve.
yeah, the buffer, what do you call it? I mean, yeah, it's sort of a buffer zone or something like that, that has effectively neutralized a huge amount of anger among the common populace.
Yeah,
So I
yeah, yeah.
think, yeah, it
But
would have been there. It would have happened
no, no,
without
it
the
would have
social.
been there. But like I am trying to come across, correct. This book. This book is there. So correct. I have read a
Mm-hmm.
part of this book. So this book actually, it is kind. It gives you an insight that like foreign actors, okay, or even nations can actually manufacture a mutiny in another
Right,
state just by using social media.
right.
Is that something is possible now? But was it something happened previously? Correct, because the kind of reach, communication, and other things which are available now. So
Mm-hmm.
it might have taken 3 months, example, for
Right,
so
right, right,
other to take place, but the government fell like a domino. Correct?
right.
This would not.
It is much easier in the sense
Hmm,
that you can easily share toolkits, right? And for example, in order to topple a government, right,
hmm,
you need certain plans, and you need a certain structure of the whole chaos. Now, my social media gives that opportunity, in the sense that if you need to amplify a certain message, right? Ki, let's say the message is that, okay, so we are going to start protesting from these and these and these streets. We are going to reach the parliament somehow, right? So while the government will be preoccupied, say, sort of saving the, let's say, the parliament, we are going to burn down the house of this prime minister or some minister, and then when the government will send army to that, we are again going to sort of revert the mob towards some other location. So these sort of specific instructions, it sort of reach out in a much easier way in the presence of social media. Without social media, yeah, it would have been very difficult to manage that chaos of a mob. In
okay,
the presence of social media, it is much easier to even manipulate the language of the mob. So for example, so there was this TV series, I mean, adolescence, right? In adolescence, we saw that maybe, I mean, Gen Z's are talking, we are acting like हम लोग बुड्ढे हो गए हैं, but the point is, the what social media has created, it has uh, it has created layer within layer in the communication technique and the lingos, and the various idioms, the very way we speak, तो जैसे अगर जेनजी हो गया, they are speaking in a very sort of in much novel and a relatively, it's a newer way, the very vocabulary is different than the vocabulary that 50, 60-year old or even 40-year-old people are using in social media. So there is fundamentally a disconnect, and which mean ki if you can capture the language in which the, let's say, the Gen Zs are talking, it's very easy to manipulate them and to drive them into this sort of protest. This is my opinion about it. Yes.
Yeah, so on that specific part, like I would like to show something to the audience to actually, like we are not going to actually analyze the news and that is for other channels. Okay, what we can do is we're going to connect the dots for you, people who are watching this. Okay, so you
Right.
just mentioned it changes social media. This book also talks about it. Okay, that social media is rewiring your brain. That is something which is very important to actually connect the dots. Okay,
Right.
how the social media is rewiring your brain so that you will have a revolution in about 72 hours. Okay, that was
Hmm.
something, that is the power of social media. So it's a tool. It can be used for a great good cause, like there's an earthquake, it can be used to communicate people and other things can be done, but it also can be done for very nefarious things. Let me show you something.
Right.
So if you see this YouTube documentary called "How Brain Rot is Rewiring Your Brain," and this actually talks about how this so-called Gen Z, their thought process, their perspective,
Hmm.
the way they use language, is being totally transformed, it's been transformed to actually show that okay, they have become like little bit less intelligent than we are. Okay, because the impact of social media. So that is
Right.
something which the language is very important here.
Right. Right. I mean, okay, let me give you one common familiar example: Bollywood. Right. So you must have seen ki, I think in 1990s, I mean, a lot of, let's say, molesting scenes, right? Sort of perversion, took like it could enter into the Bollywood mainstream quite easily. अभी भी हो सकता है because these are the same people who are making the movie and are sitting in the सेंसर बोर्ड, वो तो अभी भी हो सकता है. बट द पॉइंट इज 1990s में जैसे परवर्जन बहुत ज्यादा घुस गया था, एंड द वे दे हैड डिफाइंड, लेट्स से, एनी रिलेशनशिप, कि एक बंदा मतलब हाउ दे कैन फॉल इन लव. फॉर एग्जांपल डीडीएलजे, मतलब some of the most perverted scenes were there in DDLJ, which is apparently the most romantic and most popular sort of movie in India, right? I mean, that kind of thing a guy should never do to a girl, right? Especially if he wants to date that woman. But so through movies, through by creating, by changing the linguistic, by doing some perversion of the very linguistic, right? You can actually change the way people talk and think. क्योंकि बॉलीवुड उस टाइम पे इस तरह की चीजों को प्रमोट कर रहा था, इट सीम्ड लाइक इस तरह से यू कैन सॉर्ट ऑफ, these are the things you should do in order to impress a girl, so to say, right? तो उस तरह का perversion you can do in thoughts, right? Like your socio-political understanding of your nation, let's say, you can change those also by creating new form of language. In fact, it is through the perversion of language, perversion of spiritual and religious language, through which various Abrahamic cults were born, right? I mean, if you read those books, the cultish Abrahamic books, books from the sky, so to say, you can see that the very language of spirituality is getting perverted, right? कि जो, for one example would be कि जो one who does not obey our Allah or God is by default, जो काफिर है वही जालिम है. Now when you are saying this kind of sentence कि जो काफिर है, जो अल्लाह को नहीं मानता वही जालिम है, he is the criminal, it may sound very spiritual, uh, but it is not, really not, right? And through this perversion of language and the very grammar and the very vocab of our civilization, you can really subvert a civilization, and obviously the unit of a civilization, which is human being, you can control their thoughts, for example. So इस तरह से किया जा सकता है. दूसरा पॉइंट ये था कि जो मैं कहने वाला था, हाँ, ये बोला जा रहा है कि ओके दे बैंड द सोशल मीडिया विच आर बेसिकली, सो टू से, द अमेरिकन सोशल मीडिया, क्योंकि अमेरिकन सोशल मीडिया मतलब ये फेसबुक वगैरह हो गया और टिकटॉक को प्रमोट करना चाहते थे. सो मे बी देयर वाज अ हिडन चाइनीज एजेंडा बिहाइंड दिस, बिकॉज जो मतलब यूएस टेक का जो सोशल मीडिया है उनके इन्वेंट किया गया उसमें इट इज उसमें इंडियंस पार्ट लेते हैं. सो सो द नैरेटिव्स बीइंग डिस्कस्ड इन लेट्स से ट्विटर, it is pushing Nepal and the narrative towards India. So in order to sort of curb it, in order to stop this thing from happening, Oli KP Oli planned to ban these US side social media, so to say, which are being used in India extensively. And he had a plan to promote TikTok, to which the Nepali people protested. ठीक है, ये एक चीज बोला जा रहा है. नाउ द पॉइंट दैट एकेडमिक मैन डिस्कस्ड, इट इज दैट हाँ, जैसे इफ सोशल मीडिया इज रियली एक्टिंग एज अ वेंट्रिकल through which you can vent out your anger or anguish about the current socio-political or geopolitical situation, then it has to be free, which means कि it may sound कि हाँ, China has a social media through which is much more controlled, and China is thinking कि इससे तो perpetually ऐसे ही चलता रहेगा. It is not going to happen that way. It has, मतलब हिस्ट्री में बहुत बार कोशिश किया गया है बट ये कभी कामयाब हुआ नहीं है. It is really the communication and the interaction and the fight between different spectrum of thought that really makes a country, a society, a nation free and rich. Okay, उसको तुम बाहर से अगर टॉप डाउन एक डायरेक्शन में पुश करना चाहोगे, इट विल लीड टू, मतलब इससे क्या होगा, इससे you are basically building a civilization, or you're trying to build a society based on falsehood, right? If you are trying to push an agenda, most of the time they will not be true, right? Or they will not be agreed upon by the common people and their suffering and their pain and their daily life routine, right? So over a certain amount of time, the discontent will sort of pile up, and again it will find some way. If not through social media, then through some other debacle or some unrest or mutiny or whatever. So yeah, if you have a social media, just like society, you expect it to be free. If you push it to a certain agenda, certain top-down agenda, it is not going to sustain for very long. It is not healthy for a society, primarily because the gets suppressed through this, and you cannot build a civilization or a society void of truth. Okay, so yeah, so this was supposed to happen, and hence this has happened.
Yeah. So, last question, and for the audience who are watching this, so people can actually join and talk to us.
Right.
The joining link is there for the members who are part of the channel members, so they can come and talk to us and share your opinions. What has happened in Nepal and what could happen in next few days in Nepal. So, members who have joined, please, if you want, you can talk to us directly, and people who want to talk to us, please, you can take the membership and you'll be able to see the members only post where the link is posted. So, Bijita, so I remember correct a lot of times, I think not too far, maybe few years, people would imagine that okay, social media is something which is doesn't have a real world impact. Correct? You would have heard, correct? You would have actually heard that social media is just social media, people just ranting each other on their social media apps, but nobody is going to go and harm you. People might say a lot of bad things about you on the chat, but they are not going to come to your house and do some harm to you. Correct. From that position, now we are in a position where you can see in the picture that the Kantipur, Nepal's major media office is burned down. Okay.
Right.
And there are various factors behind this. Not only lot of things are there, correct? So we cannot say social media is the only reason why this has happened. Okay, but it is one of the most pertinent, important tools in the toolkit, which was actually used to create this kind of impact, where the
Right.
media outlets themselves have been targeted. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Right.
so from your perspective, uh, what do you think now us as social media users need to be aware of, and how the society as a whole needs to react to this very important and sometimes destructive, sometimes very constructive tool which we have with us?
Right. So yeah, so definitely in the context of India, for example, what we can do, right? Um, so one thing is obviously this constant engagement, right, of different side of an incident, right? So if we see sometime what we think कि यार ये बंदा ध्रुव राठी आके बोल रहा है और इसे बोलने दो, ठीक है, इसका रीच मिलियन पे जा रहा है, बट हमें क्या फर्क पड़ता है, वो तो सोशल मीडिया पे है। जो बंदा खेत पे किसान बन के काम कर रहा है या फिर कोई ऑफिस जा रहा है, 9 to 5 जॉब कर रहा है, उसके लिए इसका तो कोई असर नहीं होना चाहिए। नाउ इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट, राइट, व्हाट वी डू समटाइम इज दैट कि हम इग्नोर कर देते हैं, इसे बोलने दो, इसे बोलते हैं ना, इसे भोंकने दो। बट द पॉइंट इज दैट this is not the right approach. In fact, what you should do is you should be vocal. Uh, Whatever you feel is not right, okay? Let's say some guy like Dhruvrati is saying something which you feel there are some factual falsehood or some propaganda or something. You go there, at least you write a comment, small comment, right? You just voice your opinion there. ठीक है, काफी टाइम डिलीट कर देते हैं, काफी टाइम रिपोर्ट करते हैं, ये सब तो होता रहता है। But the least you can do is like you voice your opinion, you take it to Twitter, okay, take a snapshot and put your comment कि मैं इसे इसलिए सपोर्ट नहीं करता because this is my belief, okay, and you, it's not like you have to feel tired about it कि यार मैं कर रहा हूँ, मैंने whatever, मैं सोशल मीडिया यूज कर लिया 1-2 घंटा और मैं एक कमेंट लिख रहा हूँ तो आई थिंक या दिस इज नॉट हेल्दी प्रैक्टिस और वट एवर बिकॉज आई एम यूजिंग सोशल मीडिया। नो नो, यू शुड नॉट फील गिल्टी अबाउट इट, ओके? दिस इज योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एज ए सिटीजन कि जो भी सोशल मीडिया स्पेस पे हो रहा है, अगर सोसाइटी में कुछ हो, तुम्हारे घर के बाहर लेट से एक बैठक बैठाया गया है और तुम्हारे घर के बारे में बोल रहा है ये लोग तो चोर है, हाँ यहाँ आके बैठ गए, तो तुम तो चुप नहीं रहोगे ना, तुम जाके कुछ उनको कॉन्फ्रंट करोगे इन रियल स्पेस, राइट? In digital space also you do the same thing. You take it to another platform, okay, or you put a comment in on YouTube, and then you critique it or you support it. If you feel like this is some message which needs to be propagated further, then you support it, you voice your opinion. इससे क्या होता है कि ऑब्वियसली यू मे फील लाइक यार इसका कोई तो बड़ा असर नहीं हुआ, बट ये एम्पलीफाई होता रहता है। दीज आर द थिंग्स व्हिच रियली गेट्स एम्पलीफाइड। जैसे ये चैनल है, हमने जब चालू किए थे, राइट, नवविमर्श जब चालू किए थे, वी obviously we had a bigger picture in mind, that's how we started, but really we started from 1 subscriber, 2 subscriber. अभी काफी लोग हमें देख रहे हैं, चर्चा कर रहे हैं, अपना कमेंट दे रहे हैं। सो इसी तरह से यू जस्ट प्रोपगेट योर आइडिया, यू कीप ऑन डिस्कसिंग द आइडिया, यू पुट योर क्रिटिक। उससे क्या होता है, अपना कॉन्शियस सही रहता है, यू गेट द राइट आर्ग्यूमेंट, यू फॉर्म एन ओपिनियन विद इन यू एंड विद इन अ स्फीयर अराउंड यू। और उससे इफ यू स्टिक टू द ट्रूथ, राइट, whatever you believe to be your truth given the amount of information with you, then you are doing your uh, I mean, you are basically doing a great responsibility, right, as a citizen of this country. So this is our request: just do that. Given your knowledge about certain thing, you just voice it, and you put your idea and your opinion forward always.
Yeah. Okay. So one more question, and audience, you can also ask your questions. We'll take them. Okay, in about 10-15 minutes. So one more question. That is, when we are talking about social media as a kind of a constructive force, okay, where I can voice my ideas, I can share my opinions, views, and others also can do that, okay, in a freely manner, okay, without abusing anybody.
Right.
Now, academic man talked about echo chambers. You also talked about echo chambers. Okay. So as I shown the picture of a like a building being damaged. Okay, a building being damaged by the protesters, a media house. Okay. So as the narrative goes, correct. The narrative is that it's a Gen Z generation who were angry with social media apps being banned. So they came out
Mhm.
in the they came out in the protest in the thousands. Okay, and things went out of control, and within 72 hours, the government fell. Okay, that is a general narrative that we are seeing in the media. Okay,
Right.
and most people would actually believe, probably would believe that. Okay, that okay, this has happened. Okay, but, as you and I know, correct. Now, let me put one more book to actually give more perspective to this. Okay, so this is the
Mhm.
book called The Ultimate Goal. Okay,
Right. Right. Right.
okay. So Raw Chief
Vikram Singh.
deconstructs, yeah, how nations construct narratives. Okay, I was talking about it. Correct that today with the control of social media, you can actually control the narrative, and with that narrative, you can do physical harm like changing a government, or a regime change. That we
Right.
hear CIA doing it in South America, in also in parts of Africa, okay, and even
Right.
in Middle East as well. Okay, so they have done that. Okay, so when we are talking about creating echo chambers, do you think, while us who are actually social media users, I'm not saying you should not use it, but it creates a kind of echo chamber where actually you might get a misperception, okay, that okay, there are protests going on, then everything is unsafe, I can't go out, I can't go do anything, but you don't go and check outside, correct? So are we losing the touch of our real world, reality outside our doors, by consuming social media and thinking, okay, whatever I'm seeing in social media, that is truth, and I don't have to go outside and check it? So are we cutting ourselves from the real world by using social media?
Um, I mean, see, the point is, it is just like asking, in the context of, let's say, the Bengal files. Is it like
Hmm,
asking
hmm.
कि कैलकाटा में जो डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हुआ था, उसका असर बांकुड़ा में पड़ा था क्या, या पुरुलिया जैसे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में पड़ा था क्या? मतलब अगर कैलकाटा में डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हो रहा है, तो बांकुड़ा वालों को अगर न्यूज़पेपर अखबार में मिला, लिख के आया कि हाँ डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे हो गया, तो बांकुड़ा वालों को बाहर निकलना, वो लोग निकलने के लिए डर रहे थे क्या उस जमाने में? राइट. आई थिंक विथ सोशल मीडिया व्हाट हैज हैपेंड कि लोगों को एक through constant engagement of different parties and different people from various places, right? Unko, when people are wise and they can decide ki which area is safe and which area is not. Uh, but definitely एक चीज तो हुआ है कि because no matter which country you are in, जो पावर रहता है वो जनरली एक अर्बन पॉपुलेशन के बीच एक सॉर्ट ऑफ एक क्या बोलते हैं, कैसल बना के रहते हैं स्टिल. पहले भी ऐसा ही होता था कि देयर यूज्ड टू बी अ कैसल अराउंड इट, फ्यू विलेजेस, उसके बाद थोड़ा जंगल रहता था. अभी भी मॉडर्न दुनिया में इसी तरह से पावर स्ट्रक्चर बनता है, एंड इंस्टीट्यूशंस, बिल्डिंग्स, जैसे पार्लियामेंट हो गया, that symbolizes a certain sort of political structure, right? वो उसी तरह से बना हुआ रहता है. अभी जो प्रोटेस्ट का जो पैटर्न हमें दिख रहा है अलग अलग जगह पे, वो है कि वो बिल्डिंग पे हमला बोल रहे, राइट? ये तो एक कॉमन पैटर्न है, पाकिस्तान में हुआ, बांग्लादेश में हुआ, नेपाल में हुआ, और ये इसलिए हो पाता है
Sri
क्योंकि
Lanka also there. Sri Lanka.
श्रीलंका में हुआ क्योंकि ये जो एरिया है यहाँ, मतलब स्पेसिफिकली इन द सब कॉन्टिनेंट वी हैव अ ह्यूज पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी. तो जो अर्बन पॉपुलेशन डेंसिटी है वो तो बहुत ही मतलब स्टैगरिंगली हाई है. ठीक है, तो मतलब इट इज मोर देन 1,000 पीपल पर स्क्वायर किलोमीटर. सो मतलब वो एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लिए बोल रहा हूँ, बाकी शहरों के लिए तो एक्सपोनेंशियली हाई होगा, इससे काफी ज्यादा होगा. विच मीन कि मॉब इकट्ठा करना बहुत आसान हो जाता है. मॉब जब इकट्ठा एक बार कर लेते हो फिर वो कर्फ्यू लगा के भी कोई फायदा नहीं होता. देन ऑब्वियसली आवर जैसे अलग अलग इंडियन गवर्नमेंट हो गया, दे हैव फाउंड आउट डिफरेंट वे टू सॉर्ट ऑफ न्यूट्रलाइज दीज प्रोटेस्ट्स विदाउट फायरिंग बुलेट. तो ये तो इट इज ए सॉर्ट ऑफ कांस्टेंट सॉर्ट ऑफ वर्क ऑफ रिसर्च कि अलग अलग तरीका क्या क्या यूज किया जा सकता है, कहाँ पे पैलेट गन चलाया जा सकता है, कहाँ पे वाटर कैनन चलाया जा सकता है, किस तरह से कौन सा रोड ब्लॉक किया जा सकता है. सो दिस इज a continuous tussle that is going on between the rebel
Okay,
group
I will just
and the.
interject you here for a few minutes. So,
Mhm.
correct. So you mentioned, correct, that why I mentioned that echo chambers, correct. Let's say we have a very huge population density, people living in clusters with a huge
Right.
population being there in a very close quarters. Now, being that the case, I will be watching few reels or few other things, short and other things, and it will mention, okay, something is happening, and you must come and protest. Okay,
Mhm.
so and that that person might not actually go out and check that whether something is happening or not. He will say, okay, it is. So our perception of reality has really changed. Correct. We believe a lot of things which we see on our screens, on our news feeds,
No,
on
so
our social
here
media
let's
feeds.
say the thing that you are saying कि यहाँ कुछ झमेला चल रहा है, यहाँ पे मत आओ या फिर अभी यहाँ बाहर नहीं निकलो.
Hmm.
और दूसरा साइड का भी तो एक मैसेज आता है ना उसी के साथ कि यहाँ निकलो और सड़कों पे उतरो, लाइक द कांस्टेंट मैसेज
Hmm.
दैट इज बीइंग गिवन
Hmm.
बाय पीपल लाइक राहुल गांधी फॉर एग्जांपल कि
Hmm. Hmm.
सड़कों पे
Hmm.
निकलो, सड़कों पे
Hmm.
निकलो.
Hmm.
फिर भी लोग सड़कों पे नहीं निकल रहे हैं.
Hmm.
सो आई थिंक पीपल नो देयर रियलिटी कि आसपास
Hmm.
चल
Hmm.
क्या रहा है.
Hmm.
और जब भी कभी प्रोटेस्ट होता है ये तो नहीं होता कि सुबह ही निकल गए, और इसका एक बिल्डअप
Hmm.
होता है, राइट. बिल्डअप थ्रू मीडिया,
Hmm. Hmm.
build up through capturing the reaction of the political leaders. अगर
Hmm.
कहीं पे
Hmm.
पॉलिटिकल हॉटीनेस अगर बढ़ जाता है लीडर की तरफ से, उसका एक पॉपुलिस में अलग से रिएक्शन आता है कि हमारे 20 लोग मर गए और फिर ये बंदा बोल रहा है कि तुम लोगों को और भी मतलब जेंट्रीफाई करेंगे या जो भी करेंगे तुम्हारे ऊपर सख्त कारनामे करेंगे, कर्फ्यू लगाएंगे. तो लोग उसका शायद और भड़क जाता है. लेकिन एक दूसरा साइड भी है जो जिनको बोला जाता है कि सड़कों पे उतरो और वो सड़कों पे उतरते हैं, तो उनका जो डिजिटल कॉल दिया जाता है वो एक रियलिटी बन जाता है. सो ऑब्वियसली मतलब ये एक टूल है जिसके जरिए मैनिपुलेट किया जा सकता है. इसके जरिए ऑब्वियसली एक डिजिटल रियलिटी क्रिएट किया जा सकता है जो बाकी रियलिटी से अलग है, और वो किया जाता है. जैसे इलेक्शन कैंपेन के लिए काफी टाइम कैमरे का एंगल ऐसे दिखाया जाता है जैसे लाखों लोग आ गए. हो सकता है अभी तो एआई आएगा तो और भी मिस इन्फॉर्मेशन और बढ़ता जाएगा, है ना. तो ऑब्वियसली एक डिजिटल रियलिटी तो क्रिएट करने की कोशिश अभी होता है, एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दिस प्रोबेबली हाँ इट इज इम्पैक्टिंग द पॉलिटिक्स डेफिनेटली. और ये ओवरऑल सब जगह हो रहा है. फ्रांस में जैसे अभी सरकार गिरा, है ना. बाकी जगह मतलब ऑब्वियसली इट इज नॉट दैट मच रिलेटेड टू नेपाल फॉर एग्जांपल जहाँ पे सोशल मीडिया का इतना जबरदस्त यूज हुआ. बट ओवरऑल यू सी व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन यूएस फॉर एग्जांपल. यूएस में जैसे मागा मूवमेंट अभी फेमस हो रहा है, तो मागा मूवमेंट ऑब्वियसली ड्राइव किन्होंने किया, काफी सारे सोशल मीडिया पर्सनालिटीज थे. फिर डोनाल्ड ट्रम्प का भी एक अलग से मीडिया टीम काफी हेवी था, है ना. एक कांस्टेंट प्रोपेगेंडा फीड कराया गया, उस हिसाब से लोगों को अपने कैंप में लाया गया. ऑब्वियसली जैसे रिपब्लिकन के लिए गांव का जो नैरेटिव है वो कैप्चर करना थोड़ा ज़्यादा इजी था, जो अमेरिकन एंड नेबरहुड हो सकता है या फिर थोड़ा विलेजेस में जाके उनका इमेजिनेशन कैप्चर करना कि विल मेक अमेरिका ग्रेट अगेन एंड मेक इट अ रेड सॉर्ट ऑफ स्टेट फॉर वाइट पीपल. तो ऑब्वियसली एक जगह सोशल एक डिजिटल रियलिटी क्रिएट किया जाता है which is sort of put as some sort of a holy grail then that the society should attain, और वहाँ भगाया जाता है फिर. ये तो हर टाइम होता रहा है मतलब when the digital media was not there it was through leaflets. आजकल देखें कि लीफलेट कम हो गए, क्यों? मतलब पहले जितना पोस्टर पड़ता था, पोस्टर अभी काफी कम हो गया, बिकॉज यू डोंट नीड फिजिकल पोस्टर राइट नाउ. अगर कोई हॉस्टल या कोई कॉलेज का बच्चों को अगर कुछ मैसेज पहुंचाना है, यू यूज अ ग्रुप, व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप और व्हाट एवर. ठीक है. आजकल जैसे अपार्टमेंट में हो रहा है, अपार्टमेंट में कोई नोटिस बोर्ड की जरूरत ही नहीं है, यू हैव व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप. तो अगर तुम्हें कोई भी, कितने सारे तो ग्रुप बन रहा है, डॉग लवर्स ग्रुप बन रहा है, अजीब अजीब, उस बात पे लोग झगड़ रहे हैं. ठीक है. तो द पॉइंट इज, हाँ, डिजिटल मीडिया हो, डिजिटल सोशल मीडिया हो, it has actually consolidated a lot of voice. It has actually given, it has brought certain sense of democracy of different
Okay, I
voices.
will again interject here. I think you would have heard about, correct, Twitter files.
हाँ हाँ.
Be- Correct. You heard about Twitter files where when Elon Musk bought Twitter and he renamed it as X. Okay, and he released all the documents, all the emails where Twitter was being almost run by the administration, which, so what you see in your social media feed is being controlled by probably governments or some agencies or
Hmm.
some others.
Right.
Okay,
Now the point
so
here is,
yeah, go ahead.
so this is analogous to Chinese Communist Party sort of dictating how a society should run. राइट. तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि लोग इतना बेवकूफ है कि उन्हें समझ में नहीं आता ये सब चीजें. और लोगों को समझ में आ रहा था ट्विटर में जो हो रहा था, दैट वाज बीइंग डिस्कस्ड इन यूट्यूब. अगर ट्विटर यूट्यूब दोनों कैप्चर कर लेंगे, फिर देयर विल बी अ थर्ड डिजिटल मीडिया जहाँ पे चीजें डिस्कस होने लगेगा. अगर पूरा वेब कैप्चर कर लिया जाएगा, फिर पोस्टर आ जाएगा. फिर इंसान, सारे लोग फिजिकल पोस्टर के थ्रू दे विल एक्सप्रेस देयर ओपिनियन कि ये जो वेब पे जो चल रहा है, ये पूरा एक गवर्नमेंट बना रहा है. और वो तो गवर्नमेंट के लिए और भी डेंजरस होगा, क्योंकि फिर तो गेज ही नहीं कर पाएंगे रिएक्शन क्या है. मतलब फिर तो दे विल बी थिंकिंग कि ठीक है, मीडिया पे सारे, मतलब डिजिटल मीडिया पे सब लोग कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, लेकिन डिजिटल मीडिया का अगर वॉइस, दिस इज जस्ट लाइक कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर के अगल बगल में चार पांच मतलब मंत्री हो या ब्यूरोक्रेट हो जो बैठे हैं, जो सिर्फ उन्हें पॉजिटिव चीजें ही फीड कर रहे हैं. दिस इज जस्ट लाइक दैट. लेकिन अगर रियलिटी से डिजिटल रियलिटी अलग होने लगेगा और अलग खुद को कर लेगा, then real people will start realizing it, and then they will start to avoid this media. They will find some other media. It's not like the digital media is the only media through which we are going to express our discontent, or we should express our discontent. अलग मीडिया, मतलब इस तरह से हो सकता है, आपको दिमाग में भी नहीं आएगा. वो शायद डिजिटल मीडिया होगा. डिजिटल के अंदर ऐसे ऐसे स्पेसेस हैं जहाँ पे यू कैन इजीली कम्युनिकेट, जिसका रास्ता लोग जो रेबल होंगे वो ढूंढ लेंगे. मेरा ही ओपिनियन है. आई थिंक, हाँ, मतलब कार्बिंग और कंट्रोलिंग सोशल मीडिया will not necessarily lead to perpetual control over the opinion of the mass.
Yeah, so we will finish our discussion, okay, with something actually uh, which we need to understand uh, to actually guard against the bad things which can happen through social media as used as a weapon rather than a tool, okay, in many aspects of it. So that's why we are having this podcast to actually to tell people, okay, that there is life beyond social media. So you should certainly be meeting people, going outside, seeing around, go and do. Don't always order food from some app or order grocery. You need to get connected to your locality or people, okay, because
Right,
social media as a tool, it creates a kind of what we say echo chamber, okay, and that is altering your brain. And let me give you an example. A lot of people might know about it, a lot of people might not know about it, okay. So let me just share, then we will take some questions if the questions are there, or else we will wind up the show. So there is a thing called dark patterns, okay,
hmm,
okay, or they are also called deceptive patterns, okay. So this is primarily used by actually your e-commerce sites. Okay.
Hmm.
Right. Where the websites are designed in such a way that actually it triggers your brain to purchase something. Okay, in terms of
Right.
so, and like tricks and tactics applied in order to make the users do something they did not intend to do in the first place. In some cases, this is I think now a lot of also online apps, e-commerce apps have been warned to not to do this. Okay, but this is something which is a reality. So when you are consuming social media or digital media, okay, be wary that okay, it is subconsciously subliminal messages is going on inside your brain, and it is going to rewiring your brain. So you need to be very careful to actually not depend on digital media as the only source of information. Do react like relate with also the other media as well. So they did not intend to do in the first place. In some cases, there is a very fine line between persuasive design, influencing user behavior, and deliberately tricking them, most of them getting short-term advantages. Okay, so these are called dark patterns. Okay.
Right.
So, so when you are using, and why I'm showing, okay, okay, we have a question. Very good. Anand Sridhar, this is true in all media. It's the basis of advertising.
True.
Yes, it can be, but correct. So, but the effectiveness is far, far, far more greater. Correct. So it would be there, but correct, because now we have correct, now government has banned those apps. Correct, those
So
like
for
gambling apps.
example,
Hmm.
right. So there is a word in in finance. There is a word called liquidity, right? Um,
Hmm.
So cash is, for example, more liquid than something, let's say, bond, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I would say the social media and the messaging in social media is more liquid
Hmm.
than messaging through any other form of advertising. This is because here you have the subscribe pattern, right? Which mean कि okay, ये जो चैनल है इसके जो बातें हैं ये मुझे थोड़ा अच्छा लग रहा है, so I'll subscribe to it. I mean, it can be free subscription, it can be with some money. And now, when you again donating some money, let's say to Dhruv Reddy, for example, then you're thinking you are doing it for a cause. Which cause? The cause that Dhruv Reddy is sort of leading, right? Then it is very easy to get manipulated because you are allowing a bias within your own mind. ठीक है? So, मतलब the way social media forms bias is much more deep, deceptive, and more liquid in a way, in the same sense, of let's say the way cash is more liquid than bond, right? In let's say in certain form of advertising of, let's say, some company, right? There you don't have a voice, but here, let's say, in this social media in YouTube, you can put your comment. Now, when you put your comment, that is being discussed and being raised in this platform, your emotion is getting connected with the platform. So there is more agreeableness to the opinion of a, let's say, of a channel, than non-agreeableness. ठीक है? So this is in general, this is leading to formation of opinion, and this is leading to bias in much more deceptive way than any other form of media or advertisement, I would
Y-
say. Hi,
Yeah,
Anand.
yeah. So we have Anand with us. Thank you, Anand, for joining. So Anand, I will ask you a question to you before you like have your opinion. So from my perspective, whatever I have read about it in terms of the psychological and sociological impact of social media, from Yuri Bezmenov to Vikram Sood to uh, this one Charles Arthur. Okay, so I have read a spectrum of literature. Okay, on the impact of social media from intelligence agencies to other people, okay, into the marketing. So, what do you think? Like, if I give you a scale of 1 to 10, okay, if you want to have some kind of food. Let's say you want to try some new food in a new place, correct? Would you ask somebody, a local person, that okay, what should I eat in this area as good, something that I can try, or you will go to online and check what is good in this area, 1 to 10?
So the problem is that we are looking from a perspective of because we live in this current age, right? We
Hmm.
have not lived in an age where there was no social media, and our only access to data has been one direction. You understand? At that point of time, there's a special fallacy called appeal to authority fallacy. It's very common among most humans, right? We like to, especially things we don't know, we like to go to someone who knows a lot, right? So what happens is we assume that because we don't know much about it, and someone claims to be knowledgeable. This is what happened in journalism as well in India. If you look at past, right? Journalists used to basically keep like a close cabal that they had the repositories of all the knowledge, right? And they were like, okay, you don't know anything. Let me tell you what you need to know. And then he could control the information to you. And because people are inherently drawn to this appeal to authority fallacies, we do even today, they will believe it naturally. What you are saying is because what social media has done is it has destroyed that gatekeeping. It has allowed us access to data, information, much quicker and much easily. So what happens is appeal to authority fallacy works less because we are seeing more of the world. So because our knowledge of the world is expanding, there's a less chance of us basically going to someone and say, oh, you tell me what it is. You ask more of local people in the local area, right? Now, you were asking specifically about influence of social media, right? The reason social media is so much more effective right now is because, again, if you look at you go look to basic psychology. All the books that you read are basically, they're working on top of the basic psychology, right? Our personal identity and our group identity. It all comes from there, basically. Or all our behaviors come from these two primary things. Our personal identity is often intertangled with our group identity. Now, what social media does is it makes you part of the group. It lets you give feedback, so you can feel attached to a group of people with you, like a unified. So then the bubble is easier to become part of. In the past, it's difficult to be part of the bubble. You're limited by your geography. The people in your vicinity are the ones in your bubble. Now, what is happening is your bubble is expanding to people you've never met, right? Or people in the ether who say things you may like their ideas. So what happens? You get drawn towards it. It becomes part of your personal identity. In the past, it's not like that. So that's why the addictive nature of social media. You're right. That's how they're able to put these ideas to your head. Because like, oh, first we will talk to each other. We have similar ideas. Then because we have similar ideas and our group identity is linked, then we'll add other things on top of it. Like we'll tell you this is also wrong, this is also wrong. So you're more susceptible to joining that thing. But that didn't happen in the olden type of media, where it is like some authority figure telling you something. You don't identify with that person. You listen to him because he's somewhere above you, somewhere above you. Here you're identifying with people, so it's easier to influence you. But if you notice in the old media, how do they influence you? They influence you by bombarding you with information repeatedly without you having the ability to respond back. So they cannot be questioned. So the way they influence you is different, but both are equally pernicious. That's why you look at the Russian and Chinese propaganda system is the same thing. You block out all of the forms of information. Do not let people talk to each other. Just spread propaganda. You're repeatedly bombarded with this. Over time, your brain doesn't want to get anything else, right? That's exactly what it is. Why, for example, social media. Take the social media companies. Why, for example, are social media companies still seen as American companies? When majority of their viewer base and money comes from around the world. So they're technically world companies, right? But somehow they're controlled because they're controlled by one country. So, for example, when an American tells you, oh, social media should be regulated the way Americans want. Like they literally tell you, this is what it is. Google is an American company. It should be regulated by American laws. Right. They don't understand that Google is no longer an American company. It's a worldwide company. So it's a world company. So it should be regulated by uniform laws around the world. But that also they will not accept. It's like, no, my country needs to follow stricter laws. So now we're having conflict between, influencing of Indian government has its own laws. Americans have their own laws. And now it's a conflict here because freedom of speech in America is different. Freedom of speech in India is different, right? And when we interact with the social media, we assume freedom of speech should be the way we want it. But Google will run it the way American companies want it. You see the problem there. And the funny part is, we are following their laws, but with our laws imposed on us. So, for example, the way the output that we give is controlled by our laws. So the output that we give is controlled by their laws. So, for example, all the things that for example, you have some Christian propaganda from the West. Like, they are free to say whatever they want in their country, right? But the minute we respond, we are controlled by our laws. So the minute our laws come in, our laws, you cannot respond to them. You cannot make criticism of religion. So immediately our laws are holding us back, but they are able to influence us. So you notice the problem here. There's a dichotomy, and the problem is our lawmakers don't even think about this. They don't think about how foreign propaganda affects using this dichotomy. They don't care, because they go, I only want to control my people. And
In fact,
no, sorry, my bad.
in fact, in Twitter, if you criticize Islam, you'll be spared most of the time. But if you try to, let's say, criticize Christianity beyond a certain threshold, so Christians also criticize Christianity, right? But if you go one level deeper, then this Christian view of Christianity and the Christian critique of Christianity, then your post will be reported and banned and whatever. So it is very obvious. Matlab, I have faced this. I have
No,
experienced this myself.
but the problem fundamentally is again this is about influence. Okay, the way influence works is very simple. So, for example, you notice in India, freedom of speech or freedom of discussion of religion is not allowed in the public sphere. Like, you can't do it in public. You can't criticize. Like, you can't go on stage and say, I criticize religion stuff. You can't do it. But what do other religions do? They don't do it in public. They do it privately. They go to an individual's house. They tell them, "Oh, this is bad. This is bad. This is bad." It is on the public sphere, so you can't counter it also. So what happens is, because you're the majority and it's easier to target us in the private sphere, and we have no tools to counter them in the private sphere. We have only tools, even in public sphere, we have no tools to counter them. So this is going on. So that's why you notice, for example, in Singapore, for example, right? Singapore, the spread of Christianity is much slower, because they have rules. They're like, you cannot go to a person's house and proselytize. Literally, you can go to the government and say, this person came to my house to try to proselytize. They put them in jail, which you don't have here. You don't have such tools here. And there you're not allowed to criticize anything. So, for example, if Christian criticizes Hinduism there, your same issue will happen. Or you criticize Buddhism, same thing will happen. Here it's very unbalanced. Like, even the courts don't seem to understand this basic concept. And so the reason I'm saying is about this influence peddling. Influencing comes in multiple forms. Whether it is, and often for us, when we get it's always one direction, from the government to us. We rarely are able to interact directly with, for example, if a politician says something, right? They don't ask citizens, they ask other politicians. Have you noticed this? For example, some person made a bigoted comment. They don't go and ask a citizen, what do you think about this? Should he have said these things? No reporter comes and asks you this. They go and ask another politician, because then other politician can basically respond the way they've made a fixed match. Because they want to interact in a certain way only, certain pattern only. But they don't ask the citizen, should this politician be allowed to say these things? Have you noticed any of the debates on public policy or anything, they will never invite a person of the citizenry. They'll only invite other politicians or political party representatives. So, for example, maybe you're a podcaster, right? We are a podcaster. Over time, your influence grows. Then the particular party will hire you. Okay, you go to TV as your political analyst. But then by the time you've already detached from the ground, you're already in those circles, right? Because you're bombarded, again, like I said, one direction propaganda. You're bombarded with propaganda from which political party. Repeated again and again, you're hearing the same thing. You may actually believe it. You may not even believe it, but you're so repeatedly bombarded by it, you parrot it. So that's what I'm saying. No, the propaganda is honestly, it's a very complex thing. And this is more like a human nature thing. We have to look deep into it. Sorry, that's why I don't care for that only.
No, yeah. It's fine. Okay. Do you have anything else to say?
No, Nepal thing, I'm a little worried, because I'm worried it's a deep state plan. Because see, it has all the I've seen this happen. You look in France, you look in any place, okay, in the world where there's such protest, in the same pattern. There are certain NGOs or certain groups. They will organize, they will give you water bottle, they'll give you literally, I'm telling you, they'll come and tell you how to protest, they will tell you where to stand, everything, all the things, and then it will be organic protest. That is not organic. Organic when people is angry and they run into the road, like French Revolution. That's organic protest. In organic protest, there are no rules.
It was not organic.
In
It was
organic,
not
there are no
organic.
rules. Because what will happen is even common people will come out. Like even the aunties and the grandmothers, everyone will come out. And they'll throw, will they with their balan and everything will come out. That's organic protest. This is well crafted. You're like, oh, students are. How only students came in the protest? How only students came in the protest? Like imagine the protest going around your road thing, right? And you agree with them. Won't you also join? Won't you also join? Like they think Nepal is struggling with so many problems, right? Everyone's struggling with problems. Why no uncles and aunties joined? Why only students in uniform were there? Why no students who are not in uniform? Why no students who are just hanging out and eating chapati chaat? Why you notice that? For me, for me when I saw this, they said,
And
oh,
then
everyone in uniform
how
was
they are
not.
hiding their face? How they are hiding their
That
face?
is okay. Some people want to hide their face. When they go to
No,
protest, they know
no.
government will identify me. They will put me in jail. I have to hide my face. I'm talking about why only one type of student person was there.
Right, right.
The archetype of a student in uniform. And why are they in front? So imagine you're organizer of protest and you're like, these young students, why these young students in front? You're a kid, go behind. You should not be standing in front where your job is to look after the kids, right? You are the protest organizer, you should be looking after the kids, the older kids. Assume there are 20-year-old, 21-year-old kids. How can you let youngsters go in front? Little
And
kids go in
also
front.
about the bullets, right? I mean, firing bullets. The police is saying ki we did not fire bullets. So who probably it was being fired by someone else? I mean, who knows who
Who
really
will
fired
fight the bull?
those
My point
bullets?
is, if you're a protester and you really care about youngsters, why are there little kids in front? Why
Right,
any
right.
little kid in front? The minute you see a little go in front, you'll drag him back. Say, no, go stand behind. You want to protest, you want to give voice behind. We will
No,
use keep it.
so
How do
imagine that
people protest?
situation in India, for example. So you know that a whole on 26th of Jan, I think last year, there's this tractor protest happened, right? So
Hmm.
they intruded, they invaded Delhi with
Yeah.
a lot of tractors, and then there was this scumbag, Rajdeep Sardesai, who actually propagated a false news
It's craziness.
that if you remember some of the, I think one of the
Yeah, yeah,
farmers,
yeah.
the news was, let me paraphrase, some farmer got killed by some police,
Yeah.
probably by misfiring or whatever. Now just imagine at such a crucial moment when this thing was happening, I mean, this sort of false news was being propagated, right?
Yeah.
And nothing happened apparently to this guy. He did not go to jail. Nothing happened. So now they have learned. They are learning the trick how to start and how to lead a protest in Indian subcontinent, right? So imagine something like this happening in Delhi again. So even if the, let's say, police is not firing, someone from the crowd sort of did something mischievous, and as a result, again 20 such students get killed. Let's say, God forbid. Okay, now this sort of mischievous plan, how would you counter? You don't have enough counter surveillance. You do not have enough expertise of how to sort of neutralize or how to stop these kind of protest. On many occasions, the cabinet and the ministers from the ruling party, they are very bad at managing these protests and like
Somehow I don't feel I feel
delivering
it's a
right
collusion.
speech, so to say.
You know, I somehow feel
So,
it's collusion with political parties, both sides. So what I have observed in India, at least, like, I'll talk about India. Okay, I have been in some protests, small ones, the parade, not protests like you take permission from police, you take permission for path, you take you go to political parties and you pander to them. You like go kiss their
right, right.
ass. You have to kiss their ass, right, to even get basic permission. Now, the minute you don't get permission, the police will come down on you like a ton of bricks.
Hmm.
They won't even wait. They won't even ask you. They will come down. They literally will surround you. They'll come to your house. Everything they'll do. So, for
Right, right.
example, when the protest starts getting so many people are coming, you know the police has been told to back off. Do not go and touch them.
No,
Let them
but
do
the
what they want.
point is when it depends on the size of the mob. Na? So, for
No, no, no.
example,
So mobs don't start suddenly. They build over time.
no,
I'm
no.
telling you. 10 people will come together and
So
stand in one side. And
the police defines a certain route, right? And many a times it happens ki the mob start to violate that route and start to take over some other street.
yeah,
It has
but my
happened in
point is,
Calcutta many times.
Correct, correct. But I'm
I
saying
don't.
in the normal city, like Kathmandu doesn't have this issue. No, it's not all the time is having this thing. It suddenly happened now. I'm saying is they
Right,
would have
right.
observed this increasing, right? They didn't take action because they were like told, don't attack them. Let them do what they are protecting. Because they assumed that it'll be peaceful. The point is they
Yeah, yeah.
assumed it will be peaceful. But my point is often the politicians know what is happening. Because they are
Mhm.
observed. They know on the ground, they know exactly everyone. They know their background, everything. I 100% guarantee these people knew that this Balen Saha was going to finally come and become the boss of the protests.
Exactly.
Right? They knew.
Yeah,
They knew.
because he gave a statement right after the curfew when these students apparently they started to come to the street. He gave statements right at that time, so he knew the time as well, like when to put out a speech or something, right? So it was a well staged,
Yeah,
and
it's very obvious. Why that guy
and
only? Why the one who sounds very much like a woke Harvard student? Why only that person is the one you want to be as your
Yeah, he was
leader?
from Indian college, but he got featured in Time magazine. He is
Huh?
associated with a number of NGOs. So
No
there
one
is
else.
a clear sign of
No social
CIA.
worker, no social
Hmm.
worker, no doctor, no nurses, nothing. No one who's actually doing work like very hard work for many years. No older person who. No, I want this young guy who looks like we say like Zelensky. You've seen
Uh,
Maidan Revolution. What happened? Suddenly they took on this actor, put him on the tower, and he's the point. He's the one who's going to run the country. It's so
right, right.
obvious. It's very obvious what they're trying to do. And what really popped out was this one lady, okay, Rose Mandel or something. She comes on TV, and
Right.
they ask her, "What do you want?" Oh, we want foreign country to come and check, make sure our needs are met. Why?
Right.
You want no interference by your own politician. You want foreigners to come interfere in your country. You have no confidence in your own people. You don't have confidence in your adults and your family members now. You don't have confidence in them. You burned the whole country down. That you have confidently did, but you have no confidence in building it up. You need
Right.
some foreigner to come and help you. I was like, what the hell? That's if my ears are quiet. What is going on? The minute I hear
Yeah, I mean this
foreign
process of
influence, I
burning
know what's
down,
going
right?
on. Hmm?
This process of burning down whatever statues, parliament, institutions, temples. It is an old design anyway. I mean,
No, but
Christians
see,
have done it.
the
Muslims
point
have
is
done
that
it. Islam has
the,
done it. Sorry, Christianism
no,
has
no,
done it, and Islam has done it.
because that's the way they topple is through revolution. They don't change through normal. Like everything is revolution. Almost everything. It's like they claim democracy, but almost always they want revolution.
Huh.
They don't
Right.
want to transition smoothly. They want to break things down. Even now,
Right.
I'll give you an example. Okay, so the MAGA group right now earlier was a Tea Party. Tea Party.
Ah,
Okay, Tea Party.
correct.
Tea Party was again Republican, proto Republican movement. You know how they got rid of the old Republicans? They started attacking them. Like there's this Eric Cantor, if you remember, this old Republican senator called Eric Cantor. He was more like the mainstream, very corrupt, and a very standard Republican. Basically, they basically bulldoze. We are one meeting with the people. They bulldoze him, chased him out of. This is in US, okay? They chased him out of
Right.
his own place. But it's Republican, and over time, they start taking over other people's stuff. So
Right.
they always do this. Wherever they go, they do this, and they're exporting it to other countries because they want
Yeah. Did you
revolutionary.
hear any speech of Steve Bannon, for example?
Yeah,
His thought process, how he
yeah.
want to achieve these things. It is very clear how they want to achieve it. I mean, uh, so it is an old design which they are trying. They have probably learned. They have learned a lot from the Nazism and what how they captured power in
So this,
1930s.
if you notice one thing, all the perversive things in Asia is borrowed from Western ideology,
Right, right.
Nazism, Marxism, fascism, what do you call state authoritarianism. All
Communism,
are thought processes
socialism.
that are there, and
Right,
they just push it onto us.
right, right.
Right? The only thing that truly that they've created that is beneficial to most countries is liberalism. Liberalism, like in right-wing ideology, but unfortunately, leftists have basically taken it and made it leftist ideology. Like
Right.
it's basically social democracy. Liberalism is only going to make a social democracy work. So that's the only thing they've really exported to the world. It is
No, what they
valuable.
have done, what the left have done effectively is they have transformed the liberalism of duties to liberalism of rights.
No,
You
but
know,
liberalism was always about rights.
like
But the thing was, what is liberalism's priority? Liberalism's priority is state control. See,
right.
they understood that human beings essentially cannot take too much control. They cannot take too
Mhm.
much control. So what they do is you provide freedom of speech, you provide freedom of thought. So within state power control, you can voice your opinion. So for
No,
example,
no.
you can say
What
whatever
I
you
tried
want.
to say was that ki
Hmm.
liberalism of duty means ki yeah, like protecting the freedom of speech, right? It
Hmm.
does not only require the state to sort of protect it. It requires the goodwill and the sort of courage of common people to protect these sort of rights. So, but then when the liberalism was taken over by these sort of leftist agenda, they started to what they tried to do was, for example, now they are talking about, so they started again animal right, for example. Now they
Hmm.
have started to talk about rights of trees, rivers, let's say mountain and all whatnot. Okay, now you have to sort of really look into what is the game that is being played here, right?
Hmm.
So for example, the rivers or a pet or a tree or a mountain, they cannot speak up for themselves.
Correct.
So what you're doing by talking about the rights of these pets, or let's say some natural,
I
I
get
don't
it. I
know.
get it. Right.
Huh. What they're doing is that they are portraying themselves as the sort of middlemen of those rights, the guarantor of those rights. So this is how we capture sort of certain agenda. So at the on the surface it looks कि हाँ यार इनके right के लिए बात कर रहे हैं, but deep down they want to sort of they want their control over this sort of nature, pet, whatever activity that is going on. So जहाँ पे to protect a river, to protect a tree, to protect a mountain or a pet, it should have been a duty of a common citizen. यहाँ पे जब आप इसको right पे बदल देते हो, then वहाँ पे बीच में एक middleman, एक दलाल
Hmm.
create हो जाता है. So
You know,
this
but
is
the
this
reason
is this is what is
the
going
reason
on here.
I mentioned liberalism is different. I mentioned liberalism because with the way liberalism works is it uses the laws to ensure rights are given. So, for example, a Nazi can speak and a free citizen can speak at the same liberal structure. Like a Nazi can
Right.
say Nazi things. He just can't do not. He can't do Nazi things, right? So what they do is they allow that expulsion of speech to ensure that everyone stays peacefully within the state structure. So if you look at the old ACLU in the US, for example, because the US is the best example of this. US and a little bit of the France as well, right? Where when you let people speak even bad things, right? Bad things, it basically cauterizes that dirty thing out of the system. Like the person says bad things and he can't do bad things because then
Right.
people can counter it. But when what leftists do is different. They cut off the ability for bad things to be said, so it festers and they do bad things. People do bad things. So
Right.
that's why, for example, you can't talk about the illegal immigration in Bengal because they've cut off your ability to talk about the bad things. What happens? The
Mhm.
bad things are done privately, quietly. They're doing all these things, but you can't talk about it. When you can't talk about it, it is against liberalism. Ironically, it's against liberalism. It's pro leftist. Leftists do this. They prevent you from speaking about it by bombarding you with propaganda.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
That's exactly what they
Right.
do. That's not how they've been doing. Same with Kerala. Why in Kerala they can't clearly observe there's a significant what do you call it religious fault line. People are being killed by each other. Like different communities are being
Right.
killed each other. But they bombard you so badly with the idea that everyone is harmoniously living together. Right? They bombard you with the propaganda that people are believing it. They have no option to believe to have a discussion about it. And when you can't talk about it, then it's basically like that. That's why. That's what. But truly, liberal framework allow you to talk about it, so you can deal with the problems of society. But that's
Right.
that's the only good thing from Western society. That's the only one because that again comes from your basis Socrates, and
Mhm.
then from there to Aristotle, to Plato, and then to Aristotle. From there it comes. It doesn't come from Western society. Sorry, Western European society. It comes from Eastern European society. Again, closer to our side of the continent, like more our kind of discussion. Like theology, discussions about logic and about philosophy. That's where it comes from. The other stuff comes from Western Europe. If you notice, all the stuff
Right.
comes from Western Europe. Doesn't come from Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe has a more discursive, philosophical structure generally. If you notice, which is what ironically the sad part again. For example, in Islam, right? We don't discuss enough about the atheists in the Islamic world. There were a bunch of atheists in parts of Arabia and in Iran and stuff who literally criticized like Islamic theology. They called the Nabi all kinds of names. Like they literally said, who is this crazy person who teaches all these things? Like literally, they lived in the Islamic world. But what happened is we bombarded with so much of propaganda from one side that we can never discuss these people ever. We can never discuss it. We can never challenge mullah saying, "See, there's a person in your own community who said this stuff." There was no such concept of Santa Sartansijuda. So you shut up. You're not telling people to do it. So then you deflate the propaganda. You deflate their power to control society. But we can't talk about it because they're not allowed to say talk about anything about it. Like the minute you speak about it, they shut up. Someone get upset. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
and then one part which is like one aspect of this propaganda which is very relevant in the context of colonized society is a moderation and moderate propaganda. By
Right.
that, what I mean is that so I'm giving you one example. Obviously, Gandhi ji is an example. कि भाई मैं moderate हूँ, मैं दोनों तरफ का बात सुनूंगा और बीच में एक whatever एक मध्यस्थता करने की कोशिश करूंगा. I want to be in the middle, centrist position so to say. मतलब centrist between truth and false, right? Between just and unjust, he's at the centrist position.
I
So
don't see him as
मैं
centrist.
no,
I don't see him
I'm
as
just saying
centrist.
कि moderate. So this thing
He's
कि
not
moderate
moderate.
view.
No, you're mixing
कांग्रेस
a
ने भी बोला
moderate and
रहता है ना
deluded.
जैसे एक एक्सट्रीमिस्ट होता था एक्सट्रीमिस्ट की जो
He
तिलक
was a
होते थे
deluded. He was
नो नो
deluded. He
नो
was
आई
not
एम
moderate.
ही वाज क्लेमिंग नो ही वाज क्लेमिंग कि आई एम मॉडरेट ही वाज
Um,
क्लेमिंग कि आई एम नॉट एक्सट्रीमिस्ट आई एम ऑफरिंग अ मॉडरेट व्यू जैसे नेल्सन मंडेला ठीक है उनको भी ऐसे एक मॉडरेट बंदे की तरह प्रोजेक्ट किया गया नाउ जैसे सो लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जांपल तो मैं जैसे I've been writing recently about Christianity and its early days and how it was being perceived by the Greco-Roman philosophers.
hmm.
So, in order to do that, I was trying to gather as many books as possible, right? And so I'm just buying a few books, trying to download a few. I am consistently observing a pattern, which is that many of the books where the book itself is claiming that this is a critique of Christianity, those are being published by Christian publishers. So, and while you keep on sort of reading and skimming through the pages, you can see what they are actually doing in these books. They are offering sort of a quote unquote moderate view on Christianity.
Yeah. Apologists.
Apologist,
It's
हाँ,
it's called
apologist,
the entire movement called apologetics.
apologist,
Literally
हाँ,
the way
Christian
they yeah.
right, exactly. And they are calling हाँ, जैसे apologist बोलते हैं इसको comparative literature, comparative religion ऐसे अजीब अजीब नाम देके they are trying to keep a balanced sort of perspective कि यार they are trying to portray कि ऐसा हुआ था, ठीक है?
They're past masters at it. The
हाँ,
Muslims are only learning now how to do it.
एंड व्हाट दे आर डूइंग कि जो ग्रेको रोमन फिलोसोफर जो अर्ली फिलोसोफर थे उनके जो व्यू वो कोट कर रहे हैं वी डोंट हैव अ प्राइमरी अकाउंट ऑफ दोस बुक्स एंड दोस क्रिटिक इनके बारे में भी इन्होंने जो ओपिनियन दिया था वो क्रिश्चियन बुक में मुझे मिल रहा है
Yes, yes.
हाउ
All
कैन यू ट्रस्ट
almost all their sources are hearsay. So, for
this
example,
is exactly this is how they control
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
So,
narrative
so
about even
often,
themselves.
so I was I don't know if you know what I was on this used to be on this other channel called Lubna, this Lubna lady. She's very
Uh,
popular in the. So I used to go to the channel, and then one or two times these Christians will come and they'll debate. Now, I had the chance to discuss with one of these proselytizers. So I asked him a very simple question. So, for example, when you claim things like there was a mass rape of women by the pagans, and they used to marry off their children to at a very young age. What are your primary sources? And all the primary sources are the Bible. Like their primary sources are not extra, like not third party sources. Like things that are not the Bible, and things are not the Quran.
Right.
Both these religions quote directly from their scripture as evidence. They
Right.
take their scriptures as evidence. Not even take it as the theology. They take it as evidence, right? But when they look at our scripture, they won't say, "Oh, it's evidence." They'll say, "Oh, it's theology. It's fantasy." But when
Right.
they quote their scriptures, it is evidence. And this is big. And what happens is, uh, um, because we are very polite when we talk to them, because we are like they're white people, so we are very polite to them, right?
Right.
Over time, we have not had the ability to challenge them right to their face. So I challenge. When I was younger, they used to try to convert me. Okay, when I was younger, Christians used to try to convert me all the time. Literally, they love converting. It's difficult to convert me, so they'll try. And I'll always kick their ass, like always, right? So my point is that the apologetics will take cherry pick. So this is a very common thing Christians do. They cherry pick. They will cherry pick things that are suitable to the current era, and they will put that as the only thing that's relevant. So let's say Gospels. For example, when we say Gospels are the only thing that matter. Why? You'd ask a Christian a simple question. Why? Why only the Gospels matter? If Jesus is the Son of God, i.e., he's God himself, then even what all the things that God did is he's culpable for it. So it doesn't matter if he changed his mind. Okay, he changed his mind at some point and called it gospel. So, but he's culpable for everything he did. Everything he did as God. Then he became son of God. So I have to criticize your religion for that also. So all the things he did to what that guy with the kids, he killed his kids and he killed his sheep and he killed everything to prove his love and stuff. They put the father and his son in the den with lions. All that the same
Mhm.
Jesus did. He just took a different form. He just said, "Okay, I'm going to cover all my bad points. Thing for the modern era." But when you ask them these questions, they're like, no. We only accept the gospel. So what? How can you only accept the gospels? Have you noticed they don't apply the same standards to us? So, for example, when they talk about Hinduism, they don't say, "Oh, we will look at all your scripture." No, they will look at only Manusmriti. They like there's a whole corpus of literature with different points of view, but no, we pick only Manusmriti. I don't care
They
about other
don't.
religion. I
They
don't care
don't.
anything else that
Yeah.
your religion did. I only care about this
If
one thing.
right, if they consider Hindus as the people of the book, then take Veda, na, criticize Veda.
Are they don't know how they don't know the Veda. They know Manusmriti. They know Manusmriti because some
Exactly. I
French guy
mean,
wrote
there are
Manusmriti in
there
France.
are lakhs of like thousands and lakhs of slokas. Just pick one bad slok from there, na. You pick
No,
one
but my point
rotten
is
apple from the. Also, I wanted to say you one more thing, which is very peculiar about Christianism that I observed, which really make it peculiar and distinguishes it from Islam. So, in Islam, you have those ideas of jihad and all these things, and they have
Hmm.
written extensive scripture about it, and they mean their words. Islam
Correct.
means it when it says ki what do I mean by kafir? What do I mean by
Yes.
Nabi? What do I mean by Allah? They have explicit definition. They stick to it. They know the exact definition of jihad. They know the exact definition of Ghazi and
Yes. Yes.
Gajwa and all these things. In Christianity, what they do, in Christianity, there is this idea of renormalization. Let
Hmm.
me explain what. So, for example, whenever they want to mobilize a quote unquote legion of people, okay, legion is like कि कॉमन इंसान है जैसे अभी नेपाल में प्रोटेस्ट हो गया
Yeah.
सो
Yeah.
पीपल वर द आर्मी राइट सो लीजियन इज दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग कि कॉमन पीपल है बट उनका जो आर्मी होगा उसे लीजियन कहा जाएगा because they were fighting against the apparently the Roman army, so they had to
Yeah.
create the legion. ठीक है तो क्रिश्चियनिटी में हर एक वर्ड का एक एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट है जो हमें नहीं पता बीइंग हिंदू ठीक है नाउ सो दे यूज सच वर्ड्स और जब उसका फिर फायदा हो जाता है सो दे यूज दी स्पेसिफिक वर्ड टू मोबिलाइज पीपल देन जब मोबिलाइज होके फिर मान लो जिनोसाइड हो गया खत्म हो गया देन दे रीनॉर्मलाइज द वर्ड
Yes.
द
Yes.
वर्ड टू अ कॉमन मीनिंग ट्रायम्फ जैसे ट्रम्प ने काफी टाइम जो राइट विंग जो उनका ऑडियंस एंड सपोर्टर्स थे दे वर स्प्रेडिंग दिस मैसेज ट्रूथ ट्रायम्फ्स और काफी टाइम ये हमारे राइट विंग वाले, सो कॉल्ड राइट विंग या सनातनी विंग वाले, तो बोले अरे ये तो सत्य में विजयते हैं, ट्रूथ ट्रायम्फ्स। ठीक है, ट्रायम्फ मतलब विजय है। नाउ इन द अब्राहमिक कॉन्टेक्स्ट, ट्रूथ एंड ट्रायम्फ, they have completely different meaning than what Hindus mean by truth and triumph. Or Hindu don't have triumph. So triumph क्या है? Triumph is not only victory, it is victory by humiliating your opponent. कि जो इमिग्रेंट आ रहे हैं, जो ब्लू साइड के हैं, जो डेमोक्रेट है, उनको हम लोग सिर्फ जीतेंगे नहीं, उनको फिर जीत के ह्यूमिलिएट करेंगे। दैट्स व्हाई इन दैट कॉन्टेक्स्ट द वर्ड ट्रायम्फ वाज यूज्ड। उसको फिर हम लोगों ने, हिंदू ने उसको बोला कि अरे ये तो विक्ट्री है, बट ऐसा नहीं है। तो द पॉइंट इज, अब ट्रायम्फ जब बोल रहे थे, तो ट्रायम्फ होने के बाद फिर जो रोमन थे वहां पे, जो पेगन रोमन थे, उनका ह्यूमिलिएट किया गया, उस हिसाब से फिर ट्रायम्फ को यूज किया गया। फिर वो जब हो गया, कंप्लीट हो गया, फिर उसको धीरे धीरे नॉर्मलाइज किया गया। तो ये
No,
ये जो
but with the
प्रोसेस,
Roman thing, it is even more complex thing. So Christianity, for example, was not a new. So if you look at the history of Christianity, and this is a problem. Christians won't like will not they don't accept this thing because it is essentially Christianity is a Roman cult. If you look at the
right?
history of Christianity, there was a Roman cult. So when the Romans were had their pagan or like so-called thing, there were certain cults within the system. They were running parallel to it. Right? They were running parallel cults, and there's
Right.
one cult of Jesus.
Right.
I think the last Roman primarch or some rank of some very high standing rank, all the so-called pagan traditions were basically dying out. Like they were not popular as much as in the past they were. So this guy found that this cult was very popular. He took it and made it the religion of the state, which is called the
Mm.
Holy Roman Empire. He took the religion of the state, that cult,
Right.
and he made it the religion of the state, and he used it to oppress other people.
Right.
So that's Christianity started. Christianity started from there. The revision of Christianity happens after the Holy Roman Empire finishes, because then it becomes Germanic. So again, there's a new Holy Roman Empire created in Germany, which is the form that we see right now. The Pope and everything comes from that Holy Roman Empire. That one
And yeah,
that's
even
recontextualized
the
away.
Virgin Mary, that idea.
Yeah,
So because it got translated from Hebrew to these languages,
yeah, yeah.
the Greco-Roman languages, in Hebrew it used to mean Kumari. Sorry, it used to mean मतलब little girl, basically मतलब जो
Hmm.
छोटी लड़की. And then when it got translated, it got mistranslated to virgin.
Yeah, so
That's how the myth of
lot of
Virgin
Jews will
Mary
tell
got
you.
created.
A lot of Jews will tell you that the Christians have the Testament, the what is it called? About the what's Torah? Not
New
Torah. What's the other
Testament.
one? The New Testament, the Old Testament, no, the Old Testament, Old Testament. Old Testament also has been mistranslated by the Christians. They say our Old
Right,
Testament, the one in the Hebrew Bible and the one in the Christian Bible, are completely different. They have
right,
changed everything, and then we get blamed for all the stuff in the Old Testament. No,
right,
it is true that a lot of the modern the Jewish religion is very extremist because of the King David.
right.
King David got quite obsessed with power, and he turned a polytheistic religion. Initially, they were polytheistic. If you look at the history of Judaism, they had multiple gods. Then
Right,
King David had a vision from Yahweh, and Yahweh said, "Only I am the only God. All other gods are fake. You only worship me." And they became
right,
monotheists. Same thing happened with Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism again there were so many gods. Then Ahura Mazda was basically made the only god and the only force in the world. Right?
right,
So
right,
monotheism is very strong. It is a very strong like it's a center. It's very authoritarian. The minute you go to monotheism, it becomes very authoritarian. I'm very surprised how long we have been surviving with our own form of monotheism. Like we have few
right,
monotheistic traditions and I think they somehow we are surviving because monotheism tends to like draw everything to it's like a black hole. It just sucks everything
right.
in. So we're a success story, not to transition to be like to be have multiple traditions running at the same time.
No, no, I
So
mean, in the context of this polytheism and monotheism, I have an opinion here.
yeah,
So this is very paradoxical. So what they say ki sometimes they compare it as like monotheism, where you have an almighty God and all these things against the idolatry, for example. I mean, Islam take it to another extreme, जहाँ पे idolatry ये सब बैन कर देते हैं, मूर्ति तोड़ देते हैं. वो क्रिश्चियनों ने भी किया है. The point
Yeah,
is, even in the Greco-Roman culture, these different gods used to represent different. We know it, right? Different force of
yeah,
nature, or
yeah, yeah.
different bhav, or different, let's say, values.
Yes, yes.
So
They
really,
basically
what you are doing
different
is
forces
like
of
you are
nature.
worshiping. You are worshiping some value or some power associated with the nature.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
when you sort of take it to this monotheism, you what you do is you really lose this sort of bhav, right? This values, right? And you
Yes,
create
yes.
a really an idol. I mean,
Yes,
monotheism
yes.
is the real idolatry
Yes,
in
you're
that
right. You're
sense.
right.
You
You're
are
right.
imagining a real God, some Buddha
Yes,
sitting in the seventh heaven or wherever, who is
yes,
looking at people and whatever खाते पे लिख रहा है अपना सीन लिख
yes,
रहा
yes.
है. Literally,
Yes.
you take it in a literal way. You literally make it a idolatry. और फिर
That's
वो
why
लोग
when
पॉलिथिस्ट को
to
आइडल
me,
वर्शिपर बोलते हैं.
that's my point. No, they the problem, the thing we fall into the trap is we also accept their framing.
Right.
The problem is we accept their framing of the idol as what we worship. We don't
Exactly.
worship the idol. We worship the energy, or
Right.
the Hindus worship the energy behind the idol, or the
Right.
form. Right? The murti is just the form it takes.
फिर वही
But
ना, क्योंकि वो लोग हमें भी उस आइडोलेट्री के उनके मतलब आइडोलेट्री प्रोमोटिंग नजर से देखते हैं, इसलिए वो लोग अजीब अजीब क्वेश्चन पूछते हैं
no,
कि गणेश
no,
का सर क्यों उड़ा दिया.
you don't understand. See,
हाँ,
this is the
ब्रह्मा
problem.
का ये क्यों कर दिया.
नहीं, नहीं, नहीं. I'll tell you what
अलग अलग
happened.
जो
What
क्वेश्चन है
you look at
कि
anthropologically,
कि बराह अवतार कैसे हो गया, वराह कैसे अवतार ले सकता है.
that is my point. No, because we have not studied in the Hindu metaphysics. We don't study
राइट
Hindu
राइट.
metaphysics. We
एग्जैक्टली.
just do. So that's the thing. So if you notice, even in Bhagavad Gita, it says that we will reach a point where we will just do rituals without thinking. Rituals are supposed to be done with thought. You
राइट राइट.
think about what you're doing, you consider what you're doing, and then you do it. We do
राइट.
rituals without thought. We do it because we have to do it. Someone told me, my mother told me, my father told me, किसी ने बोला तो वर्क करा. That is not what that allows people to interpret what your action is. So what
हाँ मतलब
happened
इवन
anthropologically?
ये भी चीज जो है ये जब ग्रैंड मॉम के लेवल पे वहां तक नहीं होते थे, उनको पता था ये सब चीजें.
Yeah, I know.
ये
वही
लास्ट
तो
के
बोल
दो
रहा हूँ.
जनरेशन में ये हो गया.
वही तो
गीता
बोल
में
रहा
फॉर एग्जांपल, गीता में एक बंदे ने मुझे पूछा कि यार गीता में तो जाति जाति प्रथा है. मैं कहा कहाँ है. बोला उसमें तो ये सर से ब्राह्मण पैदा हुआ, यहाँ से क्षत्रिय पैदा हुआ, फिर
हूँ. गीता में वो
पुरुष
नहीं
से
है.
अपना. आई टोल्ड हिम वन थिंग. आई सेड कि तुझे पता है कृष्ण ने बोला है कि मेरे योनि से प्रकृति पैदा हुआ है, फ्रॉम माय
No, but
योनि प्रकृति
but
पैदा हुआ है.
Gita,
तो अब
no,
तो
but
कृष्ण
गीता
तो
में
फिर
नहीं
बोल
बोला
रहे
है
कि
भाई.
कृष्ण ट्रांसजेंडर था.
That Manushya thing is not in Gita. That's in this thing, another book. What's that book?
नो नो,
Manusmriti.
ये है, ये पार्ट है इसमें, मतलब सर से ये पैदा हुआ, ये सब लिखा गया है.
हाँ, four
बट ये
other.
भी है कि कृष्ण की योनि से प्रकृति पैदा हुआ. एंड व्हेन आई रेड दिस आई वाज लाइक डूड, यहाँ तो मतलब फिजिकल कोई गॉड के बारे में बात ही नहीं हो रहा है.
No,
इट
no,
इज
it's
ऑल
not about.
अबाउट दिस
It's not
भाव कि
because we have. The problem is we have allowed them to interpret it by. So that's, for example, a
हाँ
Christian comes
हाँ
and
हाँ,
talks to you. Comes and talks to you.
we
He
allowed
says,
them to interpret our scripture. यहाँ पे पंगा
yes.
हुआ.
My
राइट.
biggest problem with people who debate Christians is we accept their framing. Same with Islam. They never accept their framing. You lay out your framing. Whenever I
राइट
debate someone of other religion, you lay out your framing first.
राइट.
And our metaphysical physical framing is not one of you. How can our gods be human? Our
Exactly.
gods are not human. They're represented by human forms, but they are
Hmm.
not human. Brahma is not a man. Saraswati is
Right.
not a woman. They are feminine. They're feminine energy and masculine energy. Shiva is masculine energy. Parvati is feminine energy. They are not man and woman. They're not like actually standing there with body parts. Because
Right.
if you do that, you allow them to frame it as humans,
Hmm.
and then you
हाँ,
let
जब
them
ह्यूमन
pervert it
सोचोगे
with their
फिर
dirty
दुर्गा
mind.
के 10 हाथ क्यों है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन वही आ गया ना कि
उनके dirty,
भगवान के चार
you would
हाथ
understand the
क्यों
minute you
कैसे हो
frame it as
सकता है.
humanoid, you let their dirty mind start applying their human thoughts into it. The
राइट राइट.
problem is Hindus have been allowing these people to frame it as human. We should not accept it. They come and tell you भगवान और sorry ब्रह्मांड ने सरस्वती the सरस्वती को बनाया और उसके बाद जॉन सम्मान किया. Nonsense, they're not human.
No, exactly.
What nonsense? It's like saying the solar system came out of the Big Bang, and then suddenly anything that comes from the solar system is like part of the. It's like part of the. I mean, it's stupid.
Right,
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's about energy. Energy can be transformed, and Brahma created Saraswati as energy. And mixing energy is energy. It is not your dirty mind. Man and woman
Yeah,
having sex.
ब्रह्मा सरस्वती तो ऐसा थे कि ब्रह्मा सरस्वती को क्रिएट किया, मोह आ गया. मोह मतलब ज्ञान का मोह आ गया, तो वो मोह से ईगो आया था, ईगो हटा दिया फिर विष्णु ने, खत्म हो गया बात.
So that is the problem. No.
हाँ.
So
मतलब इतना
we let them frame it dirtily. The minute we stop letting them frame it in the dirty way, they cannot beat us. They cannot do this. And then that's my point. My biggest criticism is a lot of dharma gurus in India not doing the basic stuff that their job was.
exactly.
Educate the population. You should be every day of your life should be just that. Find a village, go educate the population completely. Go next village, leave a teacher there. You educate the population, find the best student there and make him the teacher there. Next village, go find the best student there, leave him the teacher there. You do that, they cannot convert people because then people know what to say in response. वो घर के तट पे आएगा, वो बोलेगा get out, I know the answer, you go. नहीं चाहिए मुझे तेरा भगवान नहीं चाहिए, जाओ.
नहीं मतलब वन सिंपल वे टू सी इट, जैसे वेस्ट में काफी ज्यादा बुद्धिज्म चलता है, ठीक है. क्योंकि बुद्धिज्म में वो सेंस ऑफ मोनेथिज्म है, तो दे थिंक कि बुद्धिज्म की तरफ इन पॉपुलेशन को ले जाया जाए, तो फिर वहां से मोनेथिज्म में.
That's not why. That's not why.
मुझे पॉइंट बोलना है यहाँ पे. पॉइंट ये है कि अगर ये जो गणेश को लेके कि गणेश पे ये हाथी का मुंड कैसा है, ये हाथी का सर कैसे लगाया गया, अगर ये रियल क्वेश्चन एक होता तो सबसे पहले तो बुद्धा पूछता ना. नाउ व्हेन द तांत्रिक बुद्धिज्म गॉट फेमस इन हिमालय, they are using Ganesha in tantric Buddhism. So tantric Buddhism, if it has a certain symbolism associated with it, a set of symbolism, तो गणेश को नहीं रखता ना वो, और सबसे पहले बुद्धा ही क्वेश्चन पूछता ना वो, क्योंकि बुद्धा ने तो काफी अच्छे क्वेश्चन पूछे थे. तो उस टाइम पे उनका ये खत्म हो जाएगा. उस टाइम पे वो आर्ग्यूमेंट नहीं चलेगा कि बुद्धा वाज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ ए प्रोटेस्टेंट मूवमेंट. दे ट्राई टू पोर्ट्रे the appearance and overall the nirvana of Buddha as some sort of a Protestant पंथ to Hinduism. अगर प्रोटेस्टेंट है तो फिर ये सब बुद्धा हिंदुइज्म का ये सिंबोलिज्म है, इस चीजों का तो मजाक उड़ा था. उसने तो कुछ उड़ाया नहीं है सच, उसने काफी सारे प्रैक्टिसेस के बारे में क्रिटिसाइज किया है. सिंबोलिज्म का तो मजाक नहीं उड़ाया उसने. सबसे पहले वो करता ना.
No, but that's my point. No,
तो हमारे दिमाग में आना चाहिए. हम लोग
that is why
हमको जो थोपा जाते हैं हम लोग उतने में ही कन्फाइंड रहते हैं.
Yes, that's why
दिमाग नहीं खोलते.
You go to Southeast Asia, Buddhists do not criticize Hindus, do not hate Hindus. They will come to Hindu temples. No problem for them. कुछ नहीं होता उनको. It is annoying in India. I find Buddhists are so like some Buddhists are crazy, right? Even in the West, अगर आप West में जाएंगे, most Buddhists and Hindus have no problem with each other. यहाँ ही प्रॉब्लम. आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई ये लड़ाई क्यों होती रहती है, मुझे मालूम नहीं.
यू गो टू राजस्थान, सारे जो राजपूत थे, सारे जो हिंदू टेम्पल मिलेगा बगल में लगभग सारी जगह. चित्तौड़गढ़ चले जाओ आप, कुंभलगढ़ चले जाओ, सारी जगह आपको जैन टेम्पल मिलेगा, बगल में शिव टेम्पल है, क्योंकि संग्राम सिंह शिव के पूजा करते थे. बगल में पार्श्वनाथ का टेम्पल है.
Yeah, it is always very interconnected, very
दिमाग में नहीं आया कि ये अलग है वो अलग है. किसी के दिमाग ये फिर हमारे दिमाग में क्यों आ रहा है, क्योंकि डाला जा रहा है ना हमारे दिमाग में. डाला जा रहा है.
Exactly. And one thing I want to tell you about Western.
यहाँ पे इलोरा चले जाओ, इलोरा में आपको सब कुछ दिखेगा. एक कैलाश टेम्पल है बगल, इधर जैन मतलब बुद्धिस्ट जैन टेम्पल है, उधर शाक्त है, काली के मूर्ति है, वो है पैंथियन टाइप है. वहां पे विष्णु का 10 अवतार है, शिव दुर्गा है, सब दिखेगा आपको. सरस्वती दिखेगा, गणेश दिखेगा. किसी के दिमाग में नहीं आया कि ये सब अलग अलग चीजें हैं.
Because
बुद्धा को नवम अवतार माना गया.
No, but because again, if you look at older Buddhism, they had like 3-4 panths. They also have many panths in Buddhism, right? Contradictory panths. And most of the Buddhist life is very difficult to live the way you look at Gautama Buddha's style of living. Like he
Right.
wanted, if you ask Nirvana is basically saying everything as non-existent. It's a very depressing form of thought. It's very, what's that word?
Sunya tha,
Say mera.
sunya word.
Nihilist. It's very nihilist. It's a very nihilist form of thought. It's like there is nothing except the truth, and then live your life normal. Like live your life detached. It is also detachment. Like Hindu detachment and Buddhist detachment are only different in the fact that what their conclusions about the universe are. One says that no such thing exists, other one says everything exists. Right? But
Right.
one is very depressing because it is like nothing exists. So being
Right.
detached is very difficult.
Right.
You're emotional. So what happens is most people cannot behave like that. So what Buddhism did was it allowed for idol worship. So for
Hmm.
example, they have the Tripataka. They have this form. They take Shiva and they make him Buddhist form. They take
Right.
Vishnu and they make him Buddhist form. Right. So this is
Right.
spread all over Southeast Asia as well. So Mahayana form comes
Exactly.
from this one. Mahayana sprouts from this form of Buddhism, where
Right.
you need to have the God in your personal, like in your, you need God to understand Nirvana.
Right.
It's very difficult to practice Nirvana oral. So you see in
Right.
Southeast Asia, they'll do Nirvana in small bits. Like they'll detach and go become a monk for a month. For a month they'll come, then they'll come back. They come back
Right.
to their daily life. And again they go become a monk for a while, a month later, after like few years. Because it's difficult for human beings to practice these kind of philosophy, complex philosophies. It's very hard, right?
Right.
So they've given it easier form. But the problem in India is that no one knows what this Buddhism is. No one knows. You ask a random Buddhist here, I'm surprised. People don't understand. You cannot pray to Ambedkar in Buddhism.
वो
How
तो
can you
भगवान
pray
बन
to
गया ना, भगवान
Ambedkar?
अम्बेडकर बोला जा रहा है.
You can't be Buddhist if you believe in Ambedkar as a
Prophet
god.
Ambedkar is the new prophet of Buddhism.
You cannot. Then you're not Buddhist. Then you're a new cult. Like just like Christianity is a new cult. This is a new cult. So I call
Right.
Navayana cult. I don't call it a religion. It's a cult
Right.
that has taken Ambedkar as its prophet.
Right.
Maybe tomorrow it may become a mainstream religion after they get more followers and they create their own theology. Right now, there's no theology. What do you call it? Creation theology of Navayana. You ask one of them, what is your creation theology? Before Ambedkar, what was there? What was there in the universe before Ambedkar? Did
Holy
Ambedkar
Spirit.
create the earth and the stars and did he create it? No. So how can
God,
he be a god?
Ambedkar, and his Holy Spirit.
हाँ वही तो बोल रहा हूँ. They've replaced other form. So for example, they want to be Hindu. You understand? This is all coming from the same idea. They want to be Hindu, but they want to create their own panth.
You're right.
And
Right.
they want to make Ambedkar that god. Right? They want to make Ambedkar that god. Tomorrow, admit it, 1,000 years in the future, Ambedkar will be the 100th avatar of Vishnu. You never know. You never know. That will happen. That's what I'm saying. No,
Kalki, he will
my
be the
point is,
Kalki. The Kalki who gave us
so Kalki
constitution.
would have passed by then. Like, this will be beyond after Kalki.
नहीं constitution दिया ना उन्होंने.
So
इसीलिए तो.
I always find it very contradictory when I read Ambedkar had this 12 principles or whatever. Read the principles. I'm like, it is not consistent. Like I feel Ambedkar was using the wrong method. He should have been an economist. If he had been India's
No, that
economic
thing he gave
minister,
like I think 2 weeks before his death, man. Just
so वही तो
imagine.
बोल रहा हूँ. If he had been economics minister, it would have been better. They should have kept him out of the
Right.
constitution. They would have kept
मतलब
him out
just
of philosophy.
imagine how unfortunate this subcontinent is. So this is what Ambedkar gave this 2 weeks before his death. Then Jinnah, right? मतलब if the Congressy Neta they waited for let's say 6 months or whatever 1 year कि जो अंग्रेज का ओरिजिनल प्लान था कि 1948 उस टाइम पे जाएंगे तो जिन्ना मर जाता तो फिर मतलब एक चांस था ना कि भाई.
No, but this is going to happen. I think we are a little deluded thinking that this is not going to happen. This would happen because you'd understand, right? So again, you look at the theology. Fundamentally, the theology does not allow
Right,
for coexistence. That one thing they were correct about. They understood very clearly that they cannot coexist with other religions. So you
right, right.
notice every country they're running right now, they do not give other religions the same equal rights.
हाँ.
Even the most moderate, okay, Malaysia, Indonesia is a little different case because when they were created by a so-called authoritarian dictator, Sukarno. So luckily for us, they didn't take the path because Sukarno controlled them. Same with Central Asia. Central Asia is run by dictators, and
Right.
dictators are able to able to manage this religion.
That is the
But when
only
you look
way
at
to control them. That is the only
yeah,
way to control them. See, this is
yeah.
why.
So you look at all the so-called pseudo democracies that are run by these people. almost 95%, 99% of them cannot give rights to other communities.
Hmm.
So even a lot of people say, "Oh, look at the
Because it
UAE,
is
look at."
scriptural. It is scriptural. Quran
No,
2.254.
it's not
जो
just
काफिर है
scriptural.
वही जालिम है.
It's not just scriptural. It's also because, see, one thing you understand about Islam, they don't allow people to interpret on their own. Like a Muslim cannot interpret on his own. He cannot interpret hadiths and Quran on his own. He has to go to a mullah. He has to go to a qazi. He has to go to a hafiz. Only they can do it for him. See, they've created
No,
their
but
own.
in a country where the kafirs are by default unjust,
No, I'm saying that is
how
saying no.
can you
That's what my
establish
point is.
justice?
I tell you, if you look at Arabia, look at older Arabia, the power of the mullah was very less. Like a lot of the the thought process places where they had a lot of thought. Like they were studying mathematics, they were studying all that stuff. The power of the mullah was very less because at one point their power fell to almost a very low level. So a lot of atheists came out of that period. A lot of atheists, not a lot of
No,
Muslims were like, "I'm
but
Muslim, but I'm atheist."
that was like 1,000 years ago.
No, not 1,000 years ago. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay, thousand years ago. But this is just saying, it is the height. It is the height of Islamic power. Means it spread all over Central Asia. It spread to
No,
Iran,
no.
Iraq.
I think the height of Islamic power was Ottoman Empire, and that was a pretty brutal
That is
empire.
height of the. Okay, I'm just saying height of in terms of they capture as many territories as possible. I'm not talking about in
Huh.
terms of like their knowledge like that. But my point is because the power that comes from them is because of the mullah system. The mullahs are able
Huh.
to control the population. Just require one mullah to say one thing and everyone starts following. You only want to break their power, you take away the power of the mullah.
Right.
You don't need to hurt anyone. You just need to take away the power of the mullah to give edicts. Tomorrow, if in India they said mullahs who have no right to say anything, we will cancel. You want to read the religious scripture? You go to website and look at hadiths. You read your Quran in your house. No mullah can give any statement. You pray. You want to pray in your house?
Hmm.
Pray. You want to go to the mosque? We'll give you space. You pray. But no mullah will speak. You watch. They'll have no. The power will drop like that. The political power comes from the ability of the mullah to give diktats.
In fact, the other day I was
That's all.
having a discussion with my friend, one of my friends. It was like in India, one way to defeat Islam is to radicalize these mullahs even more. कि इनसे कुछ उल्टा सीधा बुलवाओ, बिल्कुल स्क्रिप्चरल चीजें बुलवाओ,
Don't need
जो
to.
मदीना वाला जो वर्सेस है वो बुलवाओ इनके मुंह से, ताकि so that they get unpopulated and get beaten by their own population for
Nahi.
being that much
That is not going to work. That's another thing we don't understand. How does Islam radicalize? Islam radicalizes
But
through
the
guilt.
problem is we don't know because there is this idea
No,
of
no,
taqleed as well. कि मुल्ला जो
no,
बोलेगा उसको
no.
blindly follow करना
No.
है.
You look at all the radicalized kids. Every single one of them, they've been radicalized through guilt. And how
Mhm.
guilt? They always radicalize youngsters who have been very have very loose. They like not practiced anything. Then they will tell them, "ये देखो, ये है आपका scripture में. You have not done any of these things. Look at how guilty you are. Because you're so guilty, I can easily tell you, ये सब करो, तो ये सब guilt चला जाएगा." And then you can radicalize. And who has this power to do this? Only one group has this power to do this. If the father has no power to do this, the mother has no power to do this, some random friend has no power. The mullah has power to do this. And we have not, I'm sorry, but Indian politicians, Indian thinkers, even Hindu thinkers have not understood this. You don't go and chit chat with the mullah. You reject him.
Right.
You say, no, he has no power. We don't want your power. You don't say, oh, Madani ji, let's have a chit chat and how to calm everyone down. Say, no,
But when you're
Madani cannot
talking कि
speak for them.
भाई एक बंदा जो मान लो थोड़ा बिगड़ गया था, दारू पी रहा था, पब जा रहा था, you are saying कि एक मुल्ला जाके उसको पढ़ा था कि भाई you are committing sin and all these things. So let's say Imran Khan, right? You know कितना उसका colorful life था. Then he came back. He started to pose as a prophet of Pakistan, right? Now here the problem is, don't you think कि deep inside this Imran Khan is an atheist who is posing as a prophet?
No, see,
I think so. I think मतलब जो इस्लाम है उसको सब कॉन्टिनेंट में स्पेसिफिकली मतलब बहुत ज्यादा हद
they
तक
don't need to be atheists. They
पॉलिटिकल
just need to be.
वजह के लिए यूज किया
They don't
गया
need
है
to be
मतलब
atheists. They just need to be
जिन्ना
munafiq.
जिन्ना इज एन एथिस्ट भाई
No,
जिन्ना
no, they're not
deep
atheists.
inside
They're
जिन्ना
not
is an
atheists. They're
atheist.
munafiq. There's a different category, munafiq there. Munafiq means
हाँ
hypocrite.
नहीं, मुनाफिक is hypocrite.
Yes, they're
मुनाफिक
all
is like,
munafiqs.
जो मुनाफिक वो है जो मुंह पे बोलता है मैं इस्लाम को मानता हूँ और फिर डीप डाउन इनसाइड वो इस्लाम को नहीं मानते, तो उस हिसाब
They're
से
वही तो
ये
बोल रहा हूँ,
ये
मुनाफिक.
मुनाफिक हो
They're
गया.
all that's what I'm saying. ये सब
but but
मुनाफिक है.
but in the मतलब in the common sort of sense they are atheist, right? Because they are
No,
not
no, no,
obeying
no,
by God
no,
or
no, no.
something.
An atheist is me. I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God. Believe in God means like
But
inside,
these guys also
internally.
they also don't believe in Allah, right?
You will
They
never
don't
know.
believe in Islam.
It's something you know from inside. You could be a person
Right.
who doesn't realize that you actually believe in God, but you don't do it, follow any of the rules because you're like, I am a, मैं मुझे नहीं करना है.
नहीं
Like
नहीं,
मुझे
मैं
नहीं
बोल रहा
करना,
हूँ,
too much work.
मैं इनको वो मुल्हिद नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. मुल्हिद तो वो एथिस्ट हो गया थोड़ा. मतलब मुल्हिद इज लाइक जो अल्लाह को नहीं मानता और ओपनली बोलता है.
No, no, no.
राइट. सो
वही
मतलब
तो.
एथिस्ट कैन
That's
बी
what atheists
मुनाफिक
are.
as well as मुल्हिद
No,
इज.
no, no, no. Atheists are
मतलब being an
only one thing.
atheist when you are being vocal you are मुल्हिद, but when you are keeping it inside you and using it for some other purpose then
You won't.
you are मुनाफिक.
Then you're just a liar. That's all. I mean,
हाँ. So
झूठ
so
बोलने वाला manipulator.
these guys they're
No, I'm
using
not.
it.
No, no, I think they really believe. They really believe they're very good Muslims. They just don't do it properly. There's a lot of people the world is full of hypocrites.
Right,
Hypocrisy
right.
is the standard. Most human beings are hypocritical. It's very difficult
Exactly.
to stand to your principles. Very difficult.
And it is because of the munafiqat that these kind of matlab cults they have been popularized, right? I mean,
No, no.
ये इंसान के this I
Ah,
mean the
okay.
very fact कि Christianism or Islam has propagated so much is because of the fact कि human beings are inherently flawed. It shows something towards that direction. अगर ह्यूमन के अंदर कोई स्प्लिट नहीं रहता, अगर ह्यूमन पूरा ठीक ठाक ऑनेस्ट टाइप रहता, ट्रूथफुल
No, but
रहता, तो ये
that's what I'm
सब.
saying. Again, you study psychology, you realize a lot of our identity is very complex.
Right.
We are always clashing between the group identity and our personal identity, right? When you need, and this is what happens often when you are trying to attach the group identity, but your personal identity is different. It's difficult to reconcile. So what you do is you hide your personal identity. So often, many munafiks are technically, or the ones who are hypocrites, are hiding their personal identity, their personal principles. They gravitate towards the group identity. Like there is this psychological test that experiment they do frequently in psychology. They'll put a group of
Right.
people in a group, right? And they take these sticks. All the sticks will be of uniform length except one. One will be small, and they'll give all the people in the group. Everyone, like there are 10 people, 9 people will be plants. That the psychologist will plant these 9 people, okay, and he'll give all of them long. He'll give them all of them long sticks,
Hmm.
okay, and he'll give you a small stick. Okay, and then he'll ask everyone in the group what is the size of the stick, right? And everyone will say, my stick is long stick. You will
Hmm.
still say long stick because everyone's saying long stick. Instead of the fact that yours is a small stick, because you want to be part of the group. You know the truth, but because you want to be part of the group, you'll hide the truth. So it's very common in human nature, and this is what is used frequently used.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. You take away the power of influencers. Again, this is about influencers. One direction influence. You repeatedly have propaganda by one group. The person is you bombarded with on a daily basis. Every day you go to pray, you're bombarded. And you're not able to think for yourself. You're not able to think for yourself, you become basically your pawn in their hands. So you truly want to change things, you got to take away the people with power. And the people with power in these communities are the mullahs. Literally, you can
Right.
literally see it on a daily basis. They just need to say one thing during Friday prayer, and people lose their.
Right.
And then you have parallels of those people in political circles like these gundas. This some Khan was there in UP and all. You have these people who are basically an analogy of these people. They're like, oh, I'm the savior of you people, right?
Right.
So
Right.
you take away they took away the power of this one guy. How calm UP became. You take away the
Hmm.
power of these people. You don't need to hurt them. You don't need to target them. You can let them live in peaceful. Just take away these power brokers in their community,
Right.
and they calm down. They calm down. They live peacefully. Generally, It's when you let these power brokers, the minute PFI starts acting up in Kerala and Karnataka and stuff, you see the thing changes. Will take away their power, you watch. It will go calm down, people will live their daily lives. That's my point. My point is that our strategy should change based on the group.
Okay, I think we are almost now 2 hours. Okay, so thank you. Yeah, but it was a very nice discussion. Like we diverted, but yeah, I think it's a nice discussion.
It's related to the topic only, civil unrest. It's all related to the same thing. It's all about civil unrest.
But many people might not relate to it.
My bad.
Yeah, I can understand that part, but the audience might say, okay, we are talking about this. Are they related to this? Anyway, thank you, Anand, for joining, and thank you, Bijeet, for being back.
I ramble a lot. I apologize.
That's fine. That's why we have the platform. You have the freedom to speak. In India, here you are able to speak. Nobody will stop you.
Till now, yes. Till now,
okay.
For now. I hope no politician comes and sees this. Then he'll go after me. Like, what kya bakar hai?
अरे कोई नहीं जाएगा, इतना भी डरो मत. कोई नहीं जा रहा.
Okay, so thank you very much. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram. Thank you.
Bye bye.